Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by primary sponsor BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, AJ Fairchild, and Tony Fairchild. So, guys, thanks for joining me again. And guess what? It is playoff football time.
It's hard to believe it's here. Gee whiz, it just flew by, and next thing you know, we're going to be sitting into state playoffs.
And I said, I don't think I've ever been more excited. At this time of year, it's like Christmas for me. The last probably ever since Friday, I was looking at brackets and, releasing different information. It's been all playoff talk since then, and just been really excited to see how things played out and in terms of, playoff football and seeding. But we're going to see a lot of good football here coming up in the next few weeks for sure.
Yes. Win or go home, baby.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep.
All right.
It's a fun time. Definitely a fun time of the year, as Logan says. It's, it's like, Christmas for us adults.
It is. It's a great time, and we talk about we have so much fun going to all these different playoff games and these different venues and talking to so many members, different media members.
Yep.
It's just a great overall experience, and I think that's what's special about Ohio football is
Absolutely.
I don't think some other states are probably quite the same, but Ohio football definitely ranks up there with some of the best states in the entire country, and in terms of both the experience and just the athletes in the area too. So.
Yeah, and people argue that all day long, but I'm telling you, it's good football for me.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's get into looking at how we did for last week's picks. I don't know. Do I want to announce this here? Tony finished first last week, surprisingly, with a 15-3 record. Second was myself, Logan, with a 14-4 week. Third was a tie between Keith and Matthew and AJ, all with 13-5 records. And on the year, let me see this real quick. I believe, I ended up having the lead on 154 and 36, good for 81%. Second is Matthew with a 153 and 37 record, good for 81%. Third is a tie between Keith and Tony with a record of 146 and 44, good for 77%. And fifth is AJ with a record of 145 and 45, good for 77%. So Tony jumped AJ.
Last place, baby.
That's right. I know I had to do a double take at this because the wording, I think I copied the script from last week. I said Logan and Matthew were tied. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I jumped Matthew. And the one game that really set us apart was the Edon Ottawa Hills. I was the only one that had Ottawa Hills. But, Tony, I want to give you the spotlight. You were the man of the people last week. You had Defiance and Evergreen people all talking about you and rooting you on. So,
well, I was cheering for Evergreen because they had to win to get in, and so I was really cheering for them, and I'm glad to see them make it to playoffs.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Defiance kind of righting the ship after a couple difficult weeks and being able to knock off OG, who'd been playing really well lately, and both those panned out for me. So, congratulations to both those teams for helping me not be last.
Move up a little bit. No, yeah, those were really good games, and honestly, they shocked all of us because you were the only one that picked those two teams, but. Both of them needed it. Defiance needed it and ended up securing a home game, which they haven't had, and we'll kind of get into that for quite some time. And then Evergreen, again, this is the first playoff berth in quite some time. Again, we'll get into them as well. But, great week from Tony for sure. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into Week 10 game recaps, and we're looking at the NWO Sports Game of the Week first. And I would have thought this one would have been a lot closer than what the final box score read, but that is Columbus Grove at Bluffton, and the Bulldogs won this one 42-0. And that's right, I said 42-0. During the game, we were broadcasting on Tenor Rams Live, obviously, and we were kind of checking the box score online, and I'm like, what? And I think someone said they were up like 28-0 at half, and, they were. Actually, they were up at half 28-0, and I just was so shocked and taken away, and I obviously we all picked Columbus Grove, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. So this game was actually for the Northwest Conference title, which marks Columbus Grove's 17th NWC title all time. And just congratulations to the Columbus Grove Bulldogs and head coach Andy Schaefer and staff. Again, they are doing a fantabulous job over there in Grove. Year after year, they've really built a small school powerhouse over there. And coming into this game, too, Bluffton had the top scoring offense and defense with Grove right behind them in second for all the games during the year. Bluffton, their offense was scoring 42.4 points per game averaging, and on defense they were only giving up 10.1. Grove, on the flip side, offense had 42.1, and defense was giving up 10.7. So two solid teams coming into this game. You look at all the different stats, and these two teams were pretty much evenly matched along the whole way. But looking at the game, like I said, halftime, Columbus Grove was up 28-0 on Bluffton. Total offense, Grove had 348 yards with 297 rushing. Bluffton had 150 yards with 98 passing. So that Grove defense just absolutely shut down Bluffton's offense. Turnovers, Columbus Grove had 0. Bluffton had 3, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. Some top players from Columbus Grove. Here, you guys are used to hearing his name, but I'm going to start it off. Running back Trent Barraza. I'm telling you what, colleges, you need to take a look at this kid. I saw he's actually getting some different college visits. I believe he just went to Ashland. He's getting some other, Division II NAIA looks. And like I said, I even think, some smaller MAC schools maybe too. Again, this kid is a beast, but he was a big reason and contribution for this win. 23 carries, 245 rushing yards, good for 10.7 yards a carry with 4 rushing touchdowns. And that pretty much repeats his stats. If you go back and look, the week he won Player of the Week for NWO Sports, similar stat line too. I mean, very impressive against a top opponent like Bluffton. Quarterback Kyle Hopkins. Again, this kid has done a fabulous job too. At the beginning of the year, he started out as one of the top wide receivers for Columbus Grove. After some injuries and different things, he ends up working his way into the quarterback position, done a nice job. 4-7, 57%, 51 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. Running back Grant Eversole, 5 carries, 54 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And tight end Brady Basinger had 1 31-yard touchdown reception for the Columbus Grove Bulldogs. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this big matchup, Columbus Grove at Bluffton?
Just absolutely shocked, honestly. I thought it was going to be a battle and teams were going to fight. And, you're going to see a good, knockdown, drag-out fight. And, the famous phrase this year is Bluffton just got road graded by those guys. Oh, man, I couldn't believe it. We saw the scores getting shut out. I thought, well, that makes some halftime adjustments, and we'll see a different second half. Nope, not really. So congrats to Coach Schaefer and the coaching staff for coming up with a great game plan and for the kids executing it. It looks like flawlessly for the most part.
As Coach Schaefer said last year, it was like Christmas in October. I'm sure he's feeling the same way this year. It's even bigger. So, anytime you can get a shutout against a big rival for him like that, that's awesome. It is nice to see that Columbus Grove is keeping a little bit of a pass game alive. They're not throwing the ball a lot, but when they do, they're completing for about 10 yards a carry or even over 10 yards a carry or a catch. So that keeps that threat as an option there coming into playoffs, which we've talked about a lot in the past, that you have to be a dual threat team to make it through playoffs and make it to state. And it looks like they're kind of toying with that a little bit to make sure that they are there, and stats show that they are. I know they're not putting up huge passing numbers yet, but it's there if they need it.
Yep. And AJ, you had said this game is like Christmas in October for them. We know this is a game on Columbus Grove's schedule. I'm sure Bluffton's too, that they have circled on the calendar year-round in the weight room. They have all kinds of things, articles I'm sure posted up, different statements from, maybe social media or whatnot. But this is a game that these two programs actually absolutely have, a hatred towards each other. And, I mean, they do not like each other at all.
Yeah, it's like Defiance and Napoleon, and or Ayersville. I mean, this may go to a whole nother level, honestly. But I'm very impressed by, Columbus Grove. I think going into the game, Bluffton was averaging maybe 6 points a game allowed on defense. And, I mean, they just came out and just have done what they've done all year long, and they just took control, and they didn't look back. Couple talking points, as Logan said. Trent Barraza, fantastic game by that kid. But, yeah, I'm with Logan. If there's a Division I school out there that can give him a look, I mean, he just has the vision that you can't teach.
He reminds me of Travion Henderson. The body build, kind of a tall, slender, fast, good vision.
Yes,
I mean,
excellent vision.
Yeah, I said he has the best vision out of a running back I've seen in Northwest Ohio, and probably since I've started doing NWO Sports the last 4 or 5 years, even probably before that. I mean, his vision and his elusiveness and his just knowledge for the game is unbelievable, and it really shows. I mean, these big time moments. Sometimes you see these top running backs or players. They've been tearing things up, and then they play your quality opponent, and they just lay an egg, and that's not him. I mean, he comes out, and that's when he really shines, is when, you need it and in those moments, and that's what makes him so great. But, another guy, too, I always like Brady Basinger. We saw him during the Grove and Pandora Gilboa game. That's a good-looking tight end, I tell you what. He's a good-sized kid, and, it seems like he's always having a touchdown reception, especially when they need it. And, I just want to give him a shout-out. And, Keith, did you have anything else to say, too?
Yeah, I mean, the guys up front for Columbus Grove are doing a great job. I mean, he can't do this by himself.
No, not
clearly.
at
all. And, we always say, the offensive linemen are always the unsung heroes on the field, unfortunately. But they're the ones that open up the holes. And, again, Kyle Hopkins doing a fantastic job. I mean, just, hey, don't go in there and win the game for us. Just steer the ship. and we'll call the Coach Schaefer. We're like, I'll tell you where to go. I'll give you directions to get out to sea. Just man the ship, and he is doing a great job since taking over at quarterback. So,
and that's a great point you brought up on the offensive line, O-line and D-line for Columbus Grove. I was told that it was an absolute highlight reel from both sides of the ball. Someone had said Eversole almost separating receivers in half as he laid the smoke on them. He came across them like an RPG, so I had to laugh when I saw that. But, those boys are going to be tearing it up in the trenches, and, they just had Trent Barraza was the NWC Offensive Player of the Year. They just released those, and Kylan Mays was the Defensive Player of the Year at defensive line. So, when you have the O-line and D-line, offensive and defensive players of the year, and the head coach of the year too.
Wow.
That just it's nice to see, those guys get rewarded at the end of the year. But, it's not just those guys. It's the entire team. The entire team, it's a team effort that leads to the postseason accolades. So, Columbus Grove is just on a roll. They're playing some of the best football. Going back to Kyle Hopkins, too, his role is going to grow exponentially here in the playoffs. Like we always say, it's fine and dandy. You can have a great rushing attack, but you have to have somewhat of a passing attack to kind of keep teams on their toes and to open up some of those, running lanes. Because if you're going to sit there and pound it, we saw it with Liberty Center last year, too. Obviously, everyone and their brother knows Liberty loves to run the ball. They play a physical brand of football. But state championship game, you guys were there. How many times did Liberty have to throw the ball? Because,
towards the end, they threw the ball quite a bit there.
Being down or depending on the circumstance. But same thing here. So I think – the real key going down the stretch is going to be Kyle Hopkins on the offense at quarterback, and maybe there's a chance Lana Best comes back. I think time frame wise, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but with that injury, I would think he'd have to be getting close maybe to coming back. So
I thought somebody said he was still on crutches, which would not be a good thing if he's not back off the crutches. I thought somebody said, but I don't know that for sure. But.
Yeah, I don't know. But, that would just be an added bonus. But, I'm curious to see. I think Grove's playing the best football they have all year, and I'm excited to see what kind of things they do in the playoffs.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to the next game here. Looking at Delta at Evergreen, and Evergreen won this game 27-21, and this game took 2 overtimes to decide the winner. This was an all-or-nothing game for Evergreen to get into the playoffs, so it was win or go home. Delta had already pretty much secured a playoff spot at this point, and both these teams, 2 up-and-coming teams, and you look at last year, they both had losing records, or not losing records, but, not good enough to make the playoffs. And this win marks Evergreen's first playoff berth since 1984. So I just want to say congratulations to Coach Bach. Also to Coach Vickers again, for getting Delta into the playoffs too, because like I said, last year, neither team made it. And the last time Evergreen, fun fact, made the playoffs, Patrick Henry's coach, Bill Inselman, was a part of Evergreen's staff. Someone sent that into me. I had no idea that he was ever a part of Evergreen staff. So kind of interesting little tidbit there. So looking at some different stats from this game. Halftime, Evergreen was up 14-7 on Delta. Total offense, Evergreen had 322 yards, 180 passing. Delta had 411 yards, 349 rushing. The turnover battle, Evergreen had 1. Delta had 4 with 4 fumbles. Some top players from Evergreen. Bryce Bolger, 13 of 26, good for 50%. 180 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. Wide receiver Colton Robertson, 8 receptions, 108 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Running back Max Mossing, 13 carries, 57 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And wide receiver Will Reitz, 125-yard touchdown reception. And we're gonna see this one later today, so I won't give up too much info on it, but it was pretty impressive on that reception. Delta, some top players, running back Landon Lintermoot, 37 carries, which, oh boy, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Anytime you get the ball more than 30 times in a high school game, that's a lot of carries. So he was a workhorse for the Panthers. 136 rushing yards. He averaged 3.7 yards a carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. Running back Vincent Martinez, 8 carries, 81 rushing yards. Running back Marcus Nagel, 11 carries, 61 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And that pretty much wraps up the box score there. So, guys, thoughts on the Delta and Evergreen matchup?
Quite a shootout. Coming down to overtime as a last-ditch effort to get in the playoffs for Evergreen, that's fantastic. Really pulling through when you needed to and getting that first playoff berth in decades. It's awesome. We're getting to see a lot more of that coming into this year's playoffs. Some of these teams that have struggled in the past are doing very well, or at least well enough to get in the playoffs, which is saying something for the programs. It's looking. I always talk about the turnovers, but Delta with 4 fumbles kills them. That right there alone is enough to absolutely ruin a game for you, and especially a game this close. Yep. When you put up 411 yards to 320 yards, I mean, you outgain them almost 100 yards, but 4 turnovers can quickly end that. And I think that's kind of the case here. It's unfortunate they came away on the losing end, but realistically, I mean, neither of them were really playing for conference title. They were both, Delta was already in the playoffs. Evergreen was fighting for a spot. So it really played out about the best way they could.
For me, I'm just happy for both programs, honestly.
Yeah.
Both coaches, fantastic leaders of young men, student athletes. Coach Bach, Coach Vickers. We had them both in here this year.
Yeah, we did.
On the show. And if you're a young student athlete, you wouldn't want any two, leaders to look up to than those two. They just high character, always pushing to be the best, and they always have your back. So happy for both programs here.
Yeah, kind of interesting too. Both, I guess, at different points in the career. Coach Bach is kind of getting started, kind of the young gun, and Coach Vickers is kind of the wise coach, as people call him, the wizard. Towards the end of his career, kind of comes back and trying to revive the Delta program. So it's good to see both guys have some success.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so very, very happy for Coach Bach to take that team and get it around, turn it around. And he's doing great things there with the younger kids, the junior high kids, and that kind of stuff that he talked about while he was here with us. And Coach Vickers as well. Getting both those teams in the playoffs. I'm just glad to see Evergreen could, tough that one out, but get a gritty win in overtime and see what they do.
I mean, they're both 6-4, and if you have a 6-4 record coming from the NWAL, that's a really successful season.
Yeah, it is.
I don't care how you look at it. So,
I mean, yeah, when you got teams like PH and Liberty Center in there that are kind of dominating right now. So, I'm not going to say those are automatic losses, but you come out those. You're looking at those two teams on your schedule every year. You're like, ugh, okay, and they lost a couple other ones, but yeah, that's great point, Keith.
Yeah, and going back to how I kind of brought up how last year they finished. Delta was 3-7 last season, missed the playoffs. Evergreen was 4-6 and actually missed the playoffs by one spot, finishing in the 17 seed. So again, it's great to see both those programs get turned around this year, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in the playoffs. Let's move on to the next game. Looking at Leipzig at Ada. Leipzig really lost a heartbreaker here. Lost this one late in the game. Ada ended up winning 29-26 at halftime. Ada and Leipzig were tied at 14 apiece. Ada started this game off with an 84-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Hickman. And that's always tough when you give up a kickoff return to open things up to the opponent. Ada would score all 15 points in the second half in the fourth quarter, so really came back late to win this one. Total offense, Ada had 234 yards, 118 rushing. Leipzig had 350 with 285 passing. Some top players from Leipzig, quarterback Mark Kirkendall, 16 of 32, 50%, 285 passing yards with one passing touchdown. He did have one interception. Running back Tyler Lammers, 9 carries, 39 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns, and he had 7 receptions for 185 receiving yards. So this guy was really a multi-purpose type player. And wide receiver Marcus Williams, 1 25-yard touchdown reception. So, guys, thoughts on the Leipzig at Ada matchup?
Heck of a game by Tyler Lammers. You have 9 carries for 39 yards, and you come – I assume he probably wound up out wide to have 7 receptions.
I'd assume so.
185 yards. Heck of a job there by him. But, Ada comes away with the win, unfortunately, and right back at it this week.
Yeah.
So, that's rather bizarre. I think Sonora had that happen in about your era, Logan. You played Wayne Trace back-to-back, I believe, week 10, and then right back in week 11. I think that was in Lima. But
happened just before I was in school against Fairview.
Yes.
Back-to-back games as well.
I'm trying to think. I think it was in 2013. It was my sophomore year, because this just got brought up when we were talking about some of the top teams in the area, and that was with Colby Spiess and Showalter.
Yep.
We had beat them in the regular season, and that was only regular season loss.
Yes.
Played them again in the playoffs, and we got torched.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was when they had one of the best, most prolific offenses I've ever seen in Northwest Ohio. But, go on, Keith. Yeah, but it's tough to beat a team twice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Leipzig could be a tough out in the playoffs. It's tough to beat the same team twice, especially playing, back-to-back. Kirkendall, he had a fantastic season, really. Marquise Williams, quick as a cat. I mean, he also can return a kickoff for a touchdown, which I think he's done a couple times this year too. So
that's what I was saying. Take away the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and Leipzig's got that game. They lost by 3. So special teams.
Yep. Special teams.
We've said it a million times. We'll say it 1,001 times. But you never know what's going to happen. And like you said, Lipstick will be a tough out. They played them tough. It's not going to be an easy, definitely not going to be an easy matchup for Ada.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Looking at Ottawa-Glandorf at Defiance, some WBL action. And Defiance won this game 22-10. At halftime, Defiance was up 8-3. This win for Defiance secures its first round home playoff game for the Bulldogs. This is the first since 2003 when they went 10-3. And Coach Cooper was actually an assistant on staff at that time. And so this one was definitely a tough battle. Total yards for the game, Defiance at 314 with 259 yards rushing. Ottawa-Glandorf, 246 yards. They had actually split 50-50, 113 passing, 113 rushing yards. Turnovers, Defiance had a perfect game, 0 turnovers. Ottawa-Glandorf had 2 interceptions. Some top players from Defiance, running back Anthony Wilder, kind of got back to his ways. 14 carries, 166 rushing yards, good for 11.9 yards a carry with 1 rushing touchdown. And kind of a fun fact, too, currently ranks 8th in school career rushing yard records with 2,218 rushing yards on the career. Running back Noah Gomez had a solid game, 14 carries, 77 rushing yards, good for 5.5 yards a carry. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. And wide receiver Jordan Wright, 3 receptions, 42 receiving yards. Some top players from Ottawa-Glandorf. Running back Grant Evers, 18 carries, 68 rushing yards, which coming in, he was averaging 114 yards per game. And he had 1,027 yards on the year, so he's one of the top rushers in the WBL, and Defiance's defense just shut him down in the rushing attack. He had 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Dane Dooling, 2 receptions, 50 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts on this game? I had personally had OG picked. OG was kind of playing hot. Defiance was struggling at this time, but, Tony, you want to kick things off? You had Defiance picked.
Well, it's just one of those things where, where Coach Cooper's philosophy is, and, he just Defiance would kind of struggled, and for Coach Cooper to right that ship, and they needed to. They really needed that. And exactly, you're going to end up hosting a playoff game, which is awesome. And Defiance really needed to kind of get this win to kind of push him into playoffs a little bit. And I was really, when I picked him, I was just kind of hoping that Coach Cooper's going to do his job, try to get these boys on the right track, and they did a nice job, and was able to get that win.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting, too, reading from the Crescent News, they had post-game comments, and Coach Cooper had touched on, he said that was the toughest 2 weeks of his entire coaching career, and he just felt like, guys weren't playing up to expectations. And, for him to make that statement, I mean, he's had a pretty successful coaching career, and to say that was one of the toughest 2 week spans of his entire career, pretty shocking to see. So that kind of, caught my attention.
Yeah, Coach Cooper, he was a great coach at Wauseon before coming to Defiance. I mean, I don't know that he's really had too many losing seasons, but you rewind 3 weeks, we were talking about Defiance playing some of the best ball in the whole Northwest Ohio area. Yep. At least our coverage area, and we ranked them probably top, close to Liberty Center. And then all of a sudden, I'm not sure what happened, he just couldn't score. And he couldn't stop anybody. So, I mean, you can't win too many ball games if you can't score or you can't stop anybody. Kind of go hand in hand when you're trying to mix up the success. But, yeah, I mean, I'll admit, Ottawa-Glandorf was playing well. I took OG, and, I mean, hey, I'm happy for Coach Cooper and the Bulldogs because, number one, hopefully they can get back playing like they were before the 2-game losing streak and get back on track as you're heading into the playoffs. And number two, they avoided that very long road trip.
Yeah.
They could have possibly had they not came out with the win. But yeah, looking forward for hopefully a semi-long run for the Bulldogs here. See what happens.
Yeah, just another talking point from this game. Defiance ran for 259 rushing yards against a top rush defense in the WBL as well. We had talked about the OG defense throughout the season. That was one of the toughest, maybe if not one of the best in the WBL. They were holding opponents to 115.7 yards per game. So for them to go out and rush for almost double of what they were holding teams to, that's very impressive out of Defiance. All right, let's move on to the next game. We were at this game live with Tenora Rams live broadcasting, and this was Edgerton at Tenora, and Tenora ended up winning this one 24-0. This win won the Green Meadows Conference outright and marks back-to-back years of GMC titles for the Rams. Last year they shared it with Ayersville and Antwerp. And this year they finished 7-0 in conference play, so congratulations to them and Coach Becker. Friday night, it was good to see legendary Coach H, Coach Heilshorn, back at Tenora, and we got a chance to interview him at halftime, and I talked to him before the game a little bit as well. He was back to see his great nephews, Alex Homeyer and then Cooper and Owen Farrell, play some football too, so good to always see him around. I mean, that dude is a living legend, and I think Keith had said, too, we need to get like a Coach H statue somewhere at Sonora.
Statue out there, right.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy, but, it was kind of cool, too. So he was back in town, to watch family, And his great nephew, Alex Holmeyer, defensive line, congratulations to him. He broke the Tenora single season and career sack record, so very impressive. And Alex has 17.5 sacks on the season. And the previous single season sack record was held by Marcus Mosier, which was 16.5. And guess who held the previous career sack record? None other than current head coach at Tenora, and Eric Becker with 22.5. And post-game interview with Eric, he said, he wouldn't have wanted to lose that record to anyone else other than Alex Holmeyer, just a really hard worker. So I think that meant a lot for Coach Becker too. And the fact that he was able to, coach Alex Holmeyer up too is just awesome to see. So getting into some stats from this game, halftime Tenora was up 21-0. Total offense, Tenora had 207 yards, 149 rushing. Edgerton had 189 yards, 150 passing. Turnover battle, Tenora had 1 fumble. Edgerton had 1 interception. Some top players from Tenora, running back Cooper Rapogel, 6 carries, 75 rushing yards, 12.5 yards a carry. Pretty solid game out of him. Running back Devin Llewellyn, 14 carries, 55 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Wide receiver Trent DeLarber, 4 catches for 24 receiving yards. And just a quick point, I think Coach Becker listens to our podcast on a weekly basis, and I had been talking about, and I think a lot of us had said too, they need to get back to running the ball a little bit more. And after the game, he goes, I told you we were going to run the ball. I said, good, you guys needed to. So that was kind of funny. But Edgerton, wide receiver Scotty Krantz, I think he's a really good-looking athlete. I mean, he's another kid that should get some looks from some different colleges. 3 receptions, 41 receiving yards, 6 carries for 81 rushing yards. And he also had a reception, too, where he was running across the middle and running towards the sideline. He actually tipped the ball because it wasn't thrown right on the money. Yep. And he tipped the ball up in the air and caught it himself, which was really impressive. He was very solid on Friday night. Wide receiver Carter Gibson, 7 receptions, 58 receiving yards. Quarterback Maddox Baker, 13 of 18, 72%, and had 88 passing yards. So, guys, thoughts on the Edgerton at Tenora game? We were all there on Friday.
Keith, I'll let you start since you made a comment about 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, Logan put that on social media this week after the Archibald, heartbreaking loss. I said Tenora to win the next 7 games and be 7-3. GMC champs. Congratulations to the boys. But yeah, I just thought after week 3, the Otsego game, they were right there at the end. I mean, Otsego's a quality football team. Obviously, week 1, you're playing Liberty Center. Nobody expects you to do anything in that game, so that's just a watch. Week 2, playing Otsego. I mean, the Rams had the ball with a chance to win on the last 15 seconds. Going to Archibald, it's a loss.
Had to lead for most of the game.
For most of the game. I mean, that's a loss. Can't do anything about it. And I just thought the way they were playing in those 2 games, they showed flashes that defense is playing well, I thought, other than, we said the fourth quarter. But made the switch offensively, and that just changed the whole season when Owen Farrell came in at quarterback and opened up the passing game, used Dom as a running back. But I think that changed the whole, the complexion of the Rams season. 0-3 to 7-3, and looking at the numbers here, it probably wasn't one of the better games for Owen Farrell. But on the flip side, it was probably one of the better games that the Rams, running attack did have. So take the good with the bad. I mean, going into the playoffs, you probably do want to establish your running game a little more than your passing game. I mean, we've shown over 7 weeks that Owen Farrell can throw with anybody in the GMC, really. Rams' running game needed to work, and I thought they worked on that, and they came through in the end with a shutout, their 4th shutout of the season.
I believe so.
So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Edgerton took the opening drive and marched down the field, and I thought, boy, we could be in for a long afternoon here. But, Coach Shelton made the adjustments and, shut down Maddox Baker till he was injured. Then Mason Eldon came in. But we pretty much held Maddox Baker under wraps there. But
I don't know that Maddox Baker was fully healthy.
I don't think he
game.
was going into it.
I think he was previously injured.
Yeah.
I don't remember what his injury was, but, I mean, he just didn't look like his normal self out there. I mean, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the GMC. Yep. Later in the game, too, he had gotten hit quite a bit, too, and he ended up exiting, and Mason Eldon came in for him late in the fourth quarter, too. So, I mean, I don't think he was a full 100%. And, they were battling injuries because, Joel Walkup, arguably, one of the best players that they had, their starting running back, who was one of the top rushers in the Green Meadows Conference and one of the top linebackers in the conference, too. I believe he was first team. Was he first team for running back and linebacker this year? I don't remember off the top of my head.
His first team running back and
probably first-team linebacker.
Linebackers.
Yep,
Walkup. Yep.
First team.
I mean, geez, he's been like one of the top linebackers in the GMC. Him and Jack Woods, it seems like they've been like the grandfathers of kind of linebackers in the GMC forever. But without a player like that, I mean, it's tough. I mean, but they were battling injuries, and I almost think Edgerton too. They were just wanting to come out of the game healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, obviously, you want to win every game you play, right? But if you're looking at big picture and you want to make a somewhat of a deep playoff run, I think they were kind of looking at keeping guys healthy too. And
Absolutely.
Got to talk to Joel Walkup a little bit before the game, so hopefully he's healthy. Got him his Player of the Week shirt, and just a great kid. Yeah, so I was really excited. This is the first time I got to talk to him. But yeah, I mean, those were some thoughts I had too. Tony,
just like Keith mentioned, that first drive for Edgerton, they were just marching the ball right down the field, and we've brought this up 100 times with Sonora. Got down there and then they shot themselves in the foot with a penalty, and it just killed that drive. It just like everything, the wheels just fell off that drive, and then it looked like they were just going to march it right in the end zone. Like, oh geez, here we go, and that just kind of killed that drive. And then from there, one of your stat lines here, you got Jacob Bishop hit that 70-yard punt. We were backed up deep in our end, and basically kicked that from the goal line. I think it was statistically from the 15, and they recovered it on the 20-something yard line on the other side. I mean, it was one of those, like, Scotty Krantz didn't go over and catch it. And I don't know that he was really contested at the time, but, obviously he didn't think the ball was going to roll like it was on turf. I mean,
well, that's the thing. Jacob Bishop's very good at getting that bounce, the way he kicks it. Almost every punt he has gains an additional 10, 15 yards on the roll. He does a very good job with that. And some of these punt returners coming in the playoffs are going to have to realize they're going to have to step up and catch that ball, because if they don't, that's going to happen consistently. It's not like it was a fluke that it rolled another 20 yards. Like, that's going to continue happening. And he let that go, and it cost him big.
I will say they did an excellent job at kicking away from him.
Oh, yeah.
Because
he didn't get the ball.
The one key, we talked from Tenor Rams Live, like, what are the keys to the game? And Coach Becker said, too, don't kick it to Krantz. Like, don't kick it to 3. I mean, he's going to tear you up. And, obviously, when you do kick it to him, he makes you pay because he's got some of the most returns on kickoff return and punt return in Northwest Ohio. So, I mean, he's a good-looking athlete at 6'3". I didn't realize he was that big. He'd walk by me. I told him good luck before he went onto the field. And, he's pretty athletic.
Yeah, so. Very explosive player. Just, he's a, like you mentioned, Logan, is one of the colleges, if you're looking for somebody, maybe play a tight end position, something like that. Yeah. Definitely a kid that can do it. Get him in the college, get him in the weight room, and pack a few pounds on him. He'd be a good asset for you. But, for as far as the Rams getting the running game going, that was nice to see. But, I'm going to throw this out to Coach Becker and the coaching staff. You're going to have to, down the playoff run, you're going to have to get Dominic Graziani back in that backfield and get him running the ball.
1,000% agree with you on that. He's
a playmaker, and we haven't seen that since like basically the Hicksville game when they first put him back in the backfield. And he's your playmaker, and giving him the ball. I mean, it touches the ball maybe twice a game as a receiver. You're going to have to do some stuff with him in the backfield if you want to see a playoff run.
Yeah. And I know he's kind of been battling injuries a little bit. I think there was a week he was out for concussion protocol. Yeah. I think Coach Becker mentioned something about him being injured, something with a foot. So they've been kind of babying him a little bit to make sure he can be healthy for playoffs. I guess baby is probably the bad word for it, but trying to get him healthy again.
Yeah,
at least that's what he was saying.
My thing is, though, if he's out there playing football, he's out on the field, utilize him where he's going to benefit you most. Right. I mean, even if he's injured, I mean, I would still throw him at running back because
as a decoy, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
I know put him in the backfield and you decoy away from him. That's at least an option.
The other guys have. Cooper Rapogle's done an excellent job. Devin Llewellyn's done an excellent job. But Dominic Graziani brings a different aspect to the running game that those guys don't. Those guys, will run the ball a little bit more between the tackles. Graziani's guys that, he does well running outside the tackles. He can make a jump cut and cut it the opposite way. He can really wind those runs to the backside where they need to go. And I agree with you, Tony. I mean, I think 1,000% if Tenor wants to win games down the stretch, he's got to be involved in the running game. And the other thing, too, just the last point for me, I was impressed with the offensive line play and physicality, much improved this game in terms of the run game. Movement at the line of scrimmage, they were moving some bodies down the field, which was good. Pass protection still has got to improve. Right. I think, I said it before, Owen Farrell, the sky is the limit for potential for him, and he's a very, very good quarterback, but he's got to have time back there. And, the more hits he takes, I mean, that's going to wear on him too as well, especially, they have a really good passing attack, and that's, what they lead with. I mean, they got to protect their quarterback.
Yep. One final thing. Congratulations to Alex Homeyer, the co-defensive player of the year the GMC. So great job. And all the first and second team GMC members and honorable mention. Great job, gentlemen.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's get into the last game recap here. We're looking at Southview at Napoleon. Napoleon won this game 33-12. This was a game Napoleon needed to win to solidify a playoff spot. At halftime, Napoleon was up 13-5, kind of a weird halftime score. So having Southview with 5 and Napoleon with 13. Total offense for the game, Napoleon had 376 with 218 passing. Southview had 359 yards with 191 passing. Turnover battle, Napoleon had 1 fumble. Southview, I thought the same thing. Southview had 6 turnovers. This is from the stats. 3 fumbles and 3 interceptions. So, I mean, I don't know. I would say you probably have a 1% chance, 0% chance of winning a game if you turn the ball over 6 times. So that stat really stuck out to me. It's funny that you beat me to it. I mean, that just popped off the page to me. Some top players from Napoleon. Quarterback Owen Espinoza was solid, 11 of 18, 61%, 218 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. Running back George Eggers, good to see him running the ball well here late. 21 carries, 150 rushing yards, good for 7.1 yards a carry. He had 2 rushing touchdowns on top of that. Solid performance out of him. Wide receiver, defensive back Parker Woods, 5 receptions, 119 receiving yards, and he also had a 58-yard interception return for a touchdown. And good to see Parker back because I believe at the beginning of the year he battled with some injuries. He is an athletic kid as well, and he really makes big plays for the Wildcats. So good to see him have a good game. And Garrett Hall, 3 receptions, 77 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on the Southview at Napoleon game?
It's those 6 turnovers just blew my mind when I saw that. I'm like, gee whiz. And, AJ, you're talking about turnovers killing drives. Yeah. I mean, 6 times you turned the ball over. That's 6 drives. That's
probably half your possessions.
Yeah.
Close.
Well, I mean, you think about it, the stats – as far as yardage, I mean, they were only about 20 yards difference in total offense. So that's blatantly obvious where that problem comes in there. Yep. I mean, you should be 30-33 score there, not 12-33.
Yeah.
So those turnovers, man.
Yeah, the Rubenstein.
I talk about them all the time. But
the Rubenstein stat though. I mean, 2 receptions, 19 yards. They did a nice job of shutting him down.
Yeah.
But when they shut one guy down, next guy's got to step up.
And that's where Parker Woods stepped up.
Sure did. Him and Garrett Hall both, with touchdown catches and taking some pressure off. And, if they got a double cover Trey, somebody else is going to be open probably, so.
And teams are going to do that in the playoffs against Napoleon. Yeah. We've talked about that all year long. Trey's going to be the guy where, defensive coordinators look at and say, we're putting an X on him. I don't care. We're not going to get beat by Trey Rubenstein. And that's where guys like, Parker Woods and Garrett Hall step up in the passing game, and they really help out Owen Espinoza. And, for a good run for Napoleon down the stretch, it's going to be up to guys like those to step in to a place of, guys like Trey Rubenstein where, he takes up a large load of that offense. I mean, he really does.
Yeah, I mean, for me, which I've said numerous times throughout our season, Napoleon probably has 4 of the more talented kids on offense. Like, if you just grab 4 kids from any offense in Northwest Ohio, like, I'd find it hard to believe that you could name 4 kids, Espinoza, Eggers, Woods, Rubenstein, you throw in Hall. I mean, that right there is just if you're a defensive coordinator trying to stop that that'd drive you nuts at night.
I mean, Espinoza broke the career passing yard record earlier this season, so I didn't realize that. I mean, I know he was always a solid quarterback, but I never knew he was that good to break school records. And, Trey Rubenstein, a Kent State recruit, a 3-star recruit around here, and, I mean, he's tearing things up, so – I agree with you, Keith. That's something you look at the paper, and, I mean, those are some really good-looking athletes. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, on the defensive side, we don't get as many stats or as much info, but, I'm sure their defense, those guys got to play defense as well in terms of in addition to offense. So I'm sure those guys are just as good on the defensive side of the ball.
But as you guys said, Trey Rubenstein, he's automatically going to be probably double-teamed every single game. I mean, so his opportunities here, especially the last 5 or 6 weeks, have been limited. But, the other guys are stepping up and, good for Napoleon. So,
yep.
All right. Well, that concludes our game recaps. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back with the next section with the play of the week. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to Play of the Week, sponsored by Titan Sports. Titan Sports offers revolutionary wearable GPS technology for high school football and strength and conditioning programs, giving you all the metrics to get the most out of your athlete. Guys, we had a lot of great plays, like I always say, this week submitted, and unfortunately there can only be one, but we're going to take a minute to feature the honorable mention selections right now. As I always say, there can only be one. Play of the week this week is going to go to Evergreen's Will Reitz on a jumping catch in the end zone for a huge score for the Vikings. Check that out right here. With this play, the ball was underthrown a little bit, and Reitz just did a nice job at getting into position to come up with a reception. And in this game in particular, every point in this game was important. I mean, this was a win or go home game like we talked about earlier. And this helped to win the Vikings playoff berth, the first playoff berth in 40 years since 1984. So nice job, Will Reitz. You guys have seen this play. What were your thoughts on this nice catch by Will Reitz?
Heck of a catch. Yeah. Nice adjustment. Heck of a catch in the back corner of that end zone there.
Yeah, nice catch, and like you said, Logan, it helps them secure playoff. So that's, like you said, it was a big, you may not think about it at the time, but in the end of the game, that was a huge catch for a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. You said everything.
All right. Well, yeah, congratulations to Will Reitz on the fabulous catch there that helped them end up winning the game. Every point mattered, and he came up huge with that reception. So thanks again to Titan Sports for sponsoring Play of the Week. We are on to Player of the Week from Week 10, brought to you by BSN Sports. And we're going to go ahead and read through the guys who made the final running, and we'll kind of talk about who some of the nominees were. So looking at the list here, we're at Paulding quarterback Colton Hunt, Tenora defensive lineman Alex Homeyer, Fairview quarterback William Zedike, Liberty Center running back Tyler Roars, Montpelier quarterback Hayden Sharps, Columbus Grove running back Trent Barraza, Lipstick running back Tyler Lammers, Defiance running back Anthony Wilder, Napoleon running back George Eggers. So, guys, who was maybe a player you were looking at for potential Player of the Week?
Because I'll start off. I was looking at William Zedike. I know his name's been thrown around a lot this year, but he has another game coming out and putting up over 300 yards of passing with a couple touchdowns in there and getting a solid win against Hicksville. He's been putting up crazy numbers this year in just about every game. I think there's been maybe one game where he wasn't top-notch performance, and it was a tight game a couple weeks ago, but another fantastic week from William Zedike.
And the recent GMC Offensive Player of the Year, too.
Yes,
definitely. Offensive Player of the Year.
For me, I guess I'll have two. Got to give a shout-out again to Alex Homeyer. Anytime you can break a single-season sack record, I mean, that's just awesome. Season
and career
in the same game, and that's just amazing. But running back Anthony Wilder from Defiance, 14 carries, 166 yards, averaged close to 12 yards a carry. rushing touchdown, 8th all-time at Defiance. I mean, think about all the ball carries in the history of Defiance, and this kid ranks 8th. So,
crazy.
Yes.
For me, I'm throwing this out there, not the superstar, stats, but Liberty Center's running back Tyler Roars. He had 3 carries for 109 yards.
36 yards a carry.
That's amazing.
So, and I'm going to be honest. I'm sorry, Tyler. I knew they had Garrison, Cruz, and Muller and Wentz, but I didn't know they had another one. And then you come out and you carry the ball 3 times and run for 109 yards. So hey, shout outs to you, man. It's just proving that Liberty Center they're deep.
They breed running backs.
They're deep. So, I mean, when it comes to the playoffs for those guys, I don't know how you were mentioning earlier, Keith. I don't know how you you game plan for that. Just there's so many weapons, and this guy's not doing it. We're going to throw this guy in.
And that can't go without mention of Liberty Center's offensive line, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, those guys are road graders up front, and they're tearing up defensive lines, and, they're really paving the path for a lot of those guys running the ball. So I got to give those guys a shout-out. But Player of the Week this week, guys, it's the first 2-timer of the year, and that's going to go to Columbus Grove running back Trent Barraza. He had won previously earlier in the year, and again, this is a similar stat line, but when you run 23 times for 245 rushing yards, you're averaging 10.7 yards carry, 4 rushing touchdowns, and you beat your rival in Bluffton the way that they did. Oh, boy. I mean, it's hard to deny you. So that Player of the Week brought to you by BSN Sports is going to go to Columbus Grove running back Trent Barraza. Just a fabulous job. I mean, again, we can't say enough good things about him. So all I got to say is that you're for college, you got to be looking at this kid.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like I said, when I watch him, he just reminds me when I watched Ohio State over the weekend, and you watch him and you watch Travion Henderson, same body structure, same build, maybe the same number, to be honest. I'm not sure. But that's who he reminded me of, is when you look at body structure and just vision of the field, and his explosiveness is top notch.
And just to go off that a little bit, Tony. He's got deceptive speed.
Yeah,
I mean, his strides are so long. He's going fast, but it doesn't look like he's going as fast as what he is. Yeah. Like I said, I've said this 4 or 5 times. To me, I'm obviously going to go back a while, but Robert Smith for Ohio State, like he runs identical to Robert Smith. So,
yeah, and another team too. I just mentioned Liberty Center's offensive line. Columbus Grove, too. We had talked about them earlier in the podcast and the game recaps. But, if I'm Trent and I'm buying all those guys an ice cream or something.
Let's go get pizza down there.
That's right. I don't think you can afford steak dinners like they do in the NFL.
Yeah, no, not in high school. But, buying them something. Get them an ice cream cone because, those guys up front are doing a nice job. And they're really having a successful year on the offensive side of the ball. So
I don't think Barraza's getting that nil money yet.
No. But congratulations again to Trent Barraza. The Player of the Week will receive NWO Sports gear, courtesy of BSN Sports. So thank you again to sales rep Jim Garris and Rob Held. Really great supporters of coverage for athletics in Northwest Ohio, and they give us the hookup for all the gear. So
yeah, we had like 2,700 different combinations to wear tonight. So I come here, put my stuff on, and I'm like, well, I mean, nobody else is going to wear this combo because we got, 2 hoodies, 2 T-shirts, 2 shorts. I mean, these guys just supplied us with endless amounts of apparel. So then AJ walks in and literally has the same exact outfit on, which is like 1 in a million of all the stuff we got.
I guess you both thought since it was 80 degrees, let's break out the shorts and T-shirts.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man, sweatshirts. I like the sweatshirts.
But we got 2
great.
different black shirts. One is like the
Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, but man, today, of course, of all days, is 80 degrees. I didn't want to throw a sweatshirt on, so.
But yeah, they do a great job with all their gear, and you guys everyone's got to have the hookup here, so got to rep NWO Sports. Great. So, all right, we're going to move on to power rankings, and this is for the end of the regular season. And actually, after this week, I won't post another power rankings till the very end of the year. So, as teams get eliminated, we'll kind of wrap things up with power rankings at the very end of the year. So, we're going to start again from 26, and we'll work our way all the way down to number 1. So, there are a couple different changes this week. So, let's get things rolling. 26 Swanton, 25 North Central, 24 Hilltop, 23 Montpelier, 22 Bryan, 21 Ayersville. Thoughts on this group here?
Nope, I'm good.
Good.
Coming in at number 20, Antwerp. 19, Hicksville. 18, Wauseon. 17, Wayne Trace. 16, Paulding.
Again, I think good.
Yeah. Paulding.
Most of these have all kind of sorted themselves out a little bit, I think.
Paulding, I guess my thought process, Paulding all the way down to 16, but
Edgerton beat Paulding, too.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. It's kind of some of those teams.
Yeah.
Non-conference schedule. I mean, that's really.
Yeah.
Well, you play who's on your schedule. I mean, I won't take too long on this, but Paulding was trying to build a program, a few years ago, probably when they made this non-conference schedule. I mean, it could have been a conference booster, confidence booster for the boys after winning the first 3 games. I mean, they did finish 7-3. So, and in the future, I would assume, Tyler over at Paulding probably looked to improve their non-conference.
And it could have been 8-2 because they were right there with Sonora.
Absolutely,
So,
that was a heck of a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, Paulding doing a very good job building that program too. I mean, just a couple of years ago, they were at the absolute bottom of the GMC, and now they were one of the biggest threats to the title.
Yeah, Paulding, even though they're ranked 16, Paulding's still a solid team. They played Sonora really, really tough. They've got physical kids. Colton Bashore on defensive line had 5 sacks against Sonora that we saw, and Jack Woods is solid at defense or on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker. They got the Mans brothers, all kinds of great athletes. So Paulding's going to be a team to definitely watch for in the playoffs. Coming in at number 15, Edgerton, 14, Van Wert, 13, Archbold, 12, Lipsick, 11, Delta. We'll save the top 10.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, breaking the top 10. Newcomer and Evergreen, number 9, Eden, number 8, Fairview, number 7, Tenora, number 6, Napoleon. Will save the top 5.
Yeah, I think that's good. Evergreen jumped to 10. They had a good win against Delta, so.
And they beat Archbold, so I think that kind of solidifies their spot there as well. So, all right, top 5. Ottawa Glandorf at 5, 4 Defiance, 3 Patrick Henry, 2 Liberty Center, and 1 Columbus Grove.
I don't know how you argue with those top 3. 4 and 5, whatever. But the Defiance beat OG, so for sure. But I don't know how you argue with those top 3. Obviously you could flip Liberty Center and Columbus Grove on any given day, but
still funny to me that Patrick Henry sitting at number 3. There are only 2 losses, are to 1 and 2. It's kind of a lot like the playoffs in college football right now. Yeah. Some of those top teams have only lost to the top teams. Right. It's kind of like. Solidifying themselves up top there.
Yeah, very good chance those 3 teams could, be in the Final Four. So
I'm crossing my fingers. I hope they all make it.
That'd be awesome. I really
would. That would be awesome for us. 3 different divisions all covered.
Yep.
Neat.
And it's scary thoughts that Sonora's going to match up against PH possibly round 2 if they both win round 1. They're going to match up round 2. So.
Yeah, I think like you guys had said, you hit it right on the money. I think the first 3 teams, Columbus Grove, Liberty Center, Patrick Henry, really good shots at winning a regional title. So I'll be curious to see how they pan out. So
all 3 coached by fantastic coaching staffs, and
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back with the next segment. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. RE/MAX Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're on to playoff football predictions. So now that the brackets have officially been released, we're just going to kind of look at some things, some intriguing matchups, and give our prediction of who we think is going to come out of the region. So let's start with Division 7, Region 26. Some teams out of Northwest Ohio in our coverage area. Columbus Grove is the 1 seed. Edon is in there with the 5 seed. Edgerton, the 13 seed. Lipsick, the 11 seed. That pretty much wraps things up from our coverage area, but I'll start things off. I think Division 7, Region 26, obviously, Columbus Grove is the favorite. I think that they're playing really, really well. But we had talked off air, that second round, they should get to it. They play, potentially, Lima Central Catholic. Yep. They played both Pandora Gilboa as the 9 seed. LCC is the 8 seed. I would assume that LCC is probably going to win that matchup, but that's a tough second-round matchup. I mean, I think Grove gets by it, but I don't think Grove squeaks through clean the entire playoffs. That's something that stuck out to me. Edon Macomb, that's a tough matchup. You talk about some of the tough draws. We'll get into another one later, but, man, I do not want to play a 7-3 Macomb team that, played – I know they played Lipsick really tough. Anytime you play a Chris Algie team, I mean, you don't want to play them in the playoffs. Those are some of my initial thoughts. But, guys, what about yours?
Now, with Edgerton playing Mohawk, Edgerton played tough, but they're fighting injuries, and I think that's going to cause a problem there. Or else I would say Edgerton could pull an upset there. Just battling those injuries, I think, is going to be a problem. But I think Columbus Grove, from what I've seen so far, I don't think there's anybody in here that, until they get down to USV, I don't know much about them.
And actually, looking at this, Delphos St. John's at 3-7 is the 15 seed. Our favorite on Drew Pastor to beat USV.
No way.
Wow. By 5 points.
So it's going to be like college basketball. He'll have 15 upset of 2.
But looking at this, Delphos St. John's is in the MAC.
Right.
I mean, that's a gauntlet of a schedule. So I don't know. I think I looked at those 2 matchups. I know they're out of our coverage area, but I think Delphos St. John's, they do have a decent shot. So that was something interesting. Lipsick Ada, we had talked about that earlier. Yep. They're playing back-to-back weeks. I think that one's a flip of a coin. Obviously, it came down to 3-point differential. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think, again, I know some people disagree about playing a team twice and this and that, but I think it's tough. I mean, I think Lipsick's got a really good shot in there to upset the 6 seed Ada.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Logan, that potential second-round matchup between LCC and Columbus Grove, they played in Week 8, and that was a 28-20 win for the Bulldogs. So, this is there's a lot of good matchups in here, and there's could be a lot of upsets in this region as well.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Again, these are just going to be kind of brief thoughts since we discussed things a lot last week. Looking at Division 6, Region 22, looking at local teams in our coverage area, Tenora has the 5 seed, Evergreen's the 13 seed, Patrick Henry's the 4 seed, Fairview's the 6 seed, Paulding's the 15 seed. So looking at these matchups, we'll start at the top half of the bracket. Tenora and Cary, like I said before, this is probably about the worst draw you could possibly want if you're Tenora. Cary's a 5-5 team, but, I mean, Cary does not play like a 5-5 team. I mean, you can only take their record with a grain of salt. All their losses have came against really, really good opponents, and they've all, I think most of their losses have been within 1 score or less. I mean, it's been really, really close. And Cary's a very physical team. Tenora's more of a finesse team. And we'll get into a lot of these for predictions later too. But Tenora's going to have their hands full. And on Drew Pastor, Cary is favored to win this game by 4 points. It's going to be tough. This game's going to be won in the trenches. I'm just going to say that right now. Yeah. Evergreen, Patrick Henry, Matt. Oh, go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, no, I mean, shockingly, like, Tenora and Cary have actually played twice in, I believe, the last 4 years.
They have.
And that was was it 2020?
They played the COVID year.
Yes.
After 21. The seasons were basically over, and they played kind of like an exhibition match. Yep. And then they played in the playoffs when, actually, was that the year that Cary won state? Or they made
I think it was. Yeah, Tenora battled them right to the end. I mean,
because
with the middle of the fourth quarter. Yep.
Cary ended up beating Liberty Center that year in the regional finals at Bowling Green, I believe. So.
Yep. Yeah, that last Cary-Tenora matchup was a heck of a battle midway through the fourth quarter, and I think Tenora had a pick 6 there, which kind of put Cary. I think they had 21-7, but
I think it was kind of one of those desperation throws too.
Yep, it was.
Yep. One of the difference will be they'll be playing at Tenora instead of at Cary, because I tell you, if I remember right, Cary that place was hopping when we were there.
Yeah, it was. looking at another matchup, Evergreen, Patrick Henry. So that's part 2. They played each other in conference play earlier in the season. I know Evergreen's riding sky high after that Delta win, but Patrick Henry, they're tough. I mean, they've got a solid defense. Grant Smith at defensive line, Lincoln Krager back there at defensive back, a lot of other guys too. I think Patrick Henry's going to be a tough out, and I know Hopewell Loudon's the 1 seed, but I think I really like Patrick Henry out of this region. I mean, that's kind of where my thoughts are going.
I'll tell you what, the top half – I'm sorry, Keith. The top half of this bracket's tough. The bottom half, it's – like you said, tough draw for Sonora. If they were the 6 seed and pushed Sonora to that 5 seed, they'd be down there matching up. I think Fairview's got the better matchup there with Woodmore, and then second round probably with Ottawa Hills, guessing. And then, you get into that third round, you're probably looking at, the Bluffton-Huron type matchup. A lot more favorable down there, I think, than you're going to match up against PH and Hopewell Loudon.
Yep. Does Paulding give Bluffton a run for their money? The 15 seed versus a 2 seed? Paulding's a tough team.
I tell you what, I would have said no. But after Columbus Grove just throttled them,
I mean, I think there's a chance.
It really depends on how Bluffton comes back, responds.
Well, that's kind of one thing I was looking at for like Patrick Henry being the 4 seed and Bluffton being number 2. I know the record is better for Bluffton, but Columbus Grove played both teams and handedly crushed Bluffton. Right. And, I mean, they beat Patrick Henry pretty good too, but they at least scored against Columbus Grove. Yeah. and their only other loss was to Liberty Center, which we all know that. So, sitting at number 4, I think they could have been number 2.
Yeah, they're a scary 4 seed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Patrick Henry's been there. I mean, they have a lot of the same kids back that, went to the, Final Four last year, I believe. So.
And I think out of this, too, I think the team that got the best draw is probably Fairview, I think.
Yeah.
Fairview getting where were they at?
6 seed, playing Woodmore.
6 seed, playing a Woodmore team. Woodmore, this is, I think, the first playoff berth they've had in a long time, first winning season they've had in a long time. Fairview is really talented. That offensive attack is going to really give some teams trouble. I really like them if they get to the round 2 against Ottawa Hills. I think they have a really good shot at beating Ottawa Hills too. Ottawa Hills plays a weaker schedule. I don't think they've been battle tested. Fairview has, in different games. Paulding's against Fairview came down to the final wire. Tenor Fairview came down to the final wire. But I really like Fairview in that bottom bracket. I think they make some noise. All right, let's look at Division 5, Region 18. Looking at local teams from our Northwest Ohio coverage area, Archwell comes in at the 12 seed, Delta the 13 seed, Liberty Center the 2 seed.
Yeah, it's hard to believe Liberty Center come in as the 2 seed.
Yeah, I had said this is probably one of the most complete regions. You got 3 10-0 teams in the top seeds, and number 1 Edison 10-0, 2 Liberty Center 10-0, and then you also have Oak Harbor at 10-0. It's tough. And from top to bottom, this region is solid. I really like the top half of the bracket. Edison, I think Edison's going to make their way. It'd be interesting. I
don't think there's anybody up there that slows Edison down.
I don't think so either. I mean, maybe Eastwood if they make it there.
I don't know about Norwayne. Maybe they can. I don't know. But at bottom half of that bracket, you're going to, quite possibly see a rematch between Liberty Center and Oak Harbor like we saw last year. Yep. What if they'll play it at Clay again?
That'd be great.
That would be awesome if they did. It's just fantastic.
And if you guys remember last year, Liberty Center absolutely throttled Oak Harbor. And Oak Harbor, they were both undefeated last year. And I just don't – I think if Liberty Center at the 2 seed matches up with Oak Harbor, the 3 seed in the regional semifinal, I think it's, again, another blowout. I just don't think Oak Harbor plays a physical brand of football like Liberty. And if you guys remember all the big hits that they had last year. I mean, at the end of that game last year when Liberty played Oak Harbor, I mean, you would have thought, Oak Harbor, their kids were shot in the leg. I mean, they were limping off the field and they were banged up. The quarterback that quarterback took a beating.
Felt bad for him by the end of that game. He just looked like he had nothing left in him. He was just
I don't remember what it was. It was one of the Cruz boys blew that kid up over there on the far sideline.
He was a defensive back too, and he just.
But that's my initial thoughts. Liberty Center, I believe last year they played Liberty Benton in the first or second round. So, I mean, if they would match up in the second round, I don't think they give any fits. But I think it's going to be a matchup between Liberty Center and Milan Edison in the regional final. Again, I don't know too much about Edison. I know Tenora scrimmaged them, and I know Edison from hearing comments from all kinds of Tenora people that Edison waxed Tenora all over the place. Edison historically has a state championship caliber team with really good wrestlers, so I imagine their O-line and D-line have to be solid too. But, I think – I don't know. I take maybe Liberty. I'd give them a slight edge above Edison. Again, I don't know much, but, I mean, that game could be a coin flip in the regional final. That would be my thoughts. All right, let's move on to Division 4, Region 14, out of our local Northwest Ohio coverage area. Napoleon, the 13 seed. Ottawa-Glandorf, the 10 seed. So, guys, thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unfortunately, I don't know that I see Napoleon moving past Clearview. It could upset them, but I think Napoleon
is actually favored in this game by Drew Pasteur too.
Really?
Yeah, one of the higher. I think they had one of the higher percentages of beating this 13-4 matchup. They had one of the best odds in the state, I think. So I don't know.
Napoleon at 5-5 and OG at 5-5, both solid 5-5 clubs.
Yep.
You never know.
I think with OG, it kind of depends on which team they get. They've had a very roller coaster of a season, but they've been playing well. It struggled against Defiance, but their typical thing this year is win loss, win loss, win loss, win loss. So maybe Defiance they lose this week, they win.
I think in this region, I think Perkins obviously being the 1 seed, 9-1, and Shelby 10-0. I think they match up in the regional final. We had that X spaces last night. We had a lot of input from other guys, in some of these schools where they cover, and that's pretty much what they were all saying. I think someone said that they really like Shelby a lot. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's going to be Perkins and Shelby. Maybe Napoleon makes a little bit of noise too. I mean, I think if they get out of that first round, I think they could surely win the second round and maybe get in the regional semis. That's just kind of initial thoughts there. Keith, you got any thoughts?
No, I mean, like I discussed earlier, like Napoleon has a talent to win a couple games. Just can they do it?
Yeah, they can put everything together. I mean, they could be a deadly team, especially at a 13 seed. So, all right, let's move on to the last bracket here, Division 3, Region 10. Again, a little bit less teams because you're starting to get into some of the bigger schools. From our local coverage area, you have Defiance at the 6th seed, and I believe
that's it.
Yeah, that would be the
You have some other somewhat local Maumee at 8-2, where Coach Karchner, he was just at Evergreen, doing really good things at Maumee now as the 5 seed. Bowling Green is kind of a local team. Defiance plays Bowling Green in round 1, but I like Defiance's chances in round 1. I don't know, maybe round 2. It depends what Defiance team we get. Right. I think if we see the Defiance team that we know they're capable of in round 2 and play Cleveland Benedictine team, we saw that Defiance could hang with Toledo Central Catholic last season at halftime. So, I mean, that some of those kids returned this year too. They've kind of been there. They played some of that tough talent. So I think they know what it takes to win against really good teams like that. And again, the WBL is solid. It's one of the best conferences, I think, in that mid-range school size in the state of Ohio. So, Defiance, I think they get out of the first round. I think they give Benedictine a good matchup in the second round. And I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Defiance has, if you go by stats and predictions, they have an 85% chance to win. So
I think it's pretty solid. Bowling Green got absolutely whooped by Otsego. The first week 1, I think they lost by 40, 50 points. I think it's 40-something points. So
the one thing that I want to point out is as we creeped up in the brackets, you start creeping into that teams that don't have winning records that are playing. I mean, you got Lutheran West at the 16 seed; they're 2-8.
You got Norwalk
the 15
at
seed is 2-8. Norwalk. 8 teams out of that bracket have winning records. The rest of them are 5-5 or below.
That's a whole conversation in itself.
That's hours worth of talk.
I won't get into it too much, but as it seems like as you creeped up in the brackets, division-wise. I was watching it actually, and you start seeing more and more teams that have losses.
I mean, literally half the bracket is a losing record team.
I mean, when you get to where Sonora's at in Division 5, Division 6, sorry. Let me go back up there. I think there was one team that had Margaretta was at 4-6.
Well, there was a comment. Scott Barrett had said 76 teams with losing records in the playoff this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, D6, there was one team with a losing record. D5, there's
whole conversation to have there.
Yeah, so I don't know. Could be interesting. A lot of those teams, like you said, we don't know as much about just because they're bigger schools and they're outside of our area. But, I think Defiance, I think they have potential. Yep. Yeah. Just depends what team shows up. Similar to Napoleon. I think both those teams are in a similar boat right now.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the last thing, football playoff travel time. We had talked about that, but Delta, man, they're going to have to prepare 2 hours, 48 minutes to Norwayne, Edgerton to Mohawk, 2 hours 8 minutes, Napoleon to Clearview, 2 hours 3 minutes, Ottawa Glandorf to Galion, 1 hour 20 minutes, Paulding to Bluffton, 1 hour 5 minutes, which that used to be a conference matchup
a couple years
ago.
Yep.
So an hour for a conference game. That was kind of, couldn't believe that. Archbold to Eastwood, 1 hour 4 minutes, Evergreen to Patrick Henry, 49 minutes. That's a conference game. So that's kind of nice. If you can get a first round playoff game with it an hour or under, that's huge if you're the away team. Lipstick to Ada, 41 minutes, and then Sonora's home, Fairview's home, Liberty Center's home, Columbus Grove's home, Eden's home, and Defiance's home. So
Liberty Center's playing Utica, though, which is 2 hours.
Yeah, what'd you say that was?
Utica's 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So
that would be number 2 on this list.
Yeah, they're northeast of Columbus, and they'll be traveling all the way to Liberty Center. So,
and that's just, I said last year, Brian had to travel to West Holmes. If you guys remember, that was, I think, 3 hours, 15 minutes one way. That's 6.5 hours on the road?
Yeah, and that's so you're getting kids out of school. They have to get out of school early. I mean, you're looking at Delta to Norway,
you have
2 hours and 48 minutes, basically 3 hours by bus probably.
Unless you want to show up to the game before.
Yeah, so you've got to
12
leave
minutes before.
You got to leave by 2:00.
Yeah,
and that gets you there at 5. You know, if nothing goes wrong, like if you've got the luck of Sonora softball team, the bus breaks down. And,
it does happen.
It's happened to me twice in 3 years. So, but yeah, so just some of these games are crazy. Just the distance.
All right. Well, we're going to take the break to hear from our sponsors, and we will be back with the Player Spotlight segment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio, call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to the Player Spotlight, and we have the Edon Bombers and some members from their football team, giving a little bit of introduction on them. Currently, they're 9-1 in the season, made the playoffs with the 5 seed. Coming in, having a really successful year. Offense is averaging 41.8 points per game. On defense, they're averaging 14.6 points per game. And the guys that we have on tonight are Kyler Sapp, quarterback, defensive back, Cohen Hulbert, running back and linebacker, Max Radabaugh, wide receiver, and Parker Kelley, O-line and D-line. So, guys, thanks for joining us tonight on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, guys, we'll just kind of kick some things off. We'll start off with maybe just some questions for all of you guys. And then after that, maybe we'll ask you a couple of individual questions. So nothing too crazy. So looking ahead at the playoffs here, you guys come in at the 5 seed. What's your guys' thoughts on that? I know you guys had just dropped a tough one to a tough conference opponent in Ottawa Hills. But, coming in as a 5 seed, that's got to be pretty exciting to host a playoff game in round 1.
Yeah, we're excited. We're hoping for a little more than a 5, but obviously going 9-1, we don't play the hardest schedule. So, we're all right with the 5 seed. We get at least one more home game, which is nice. We take on Macomb, who's beat us the past 2 years, so it's going to be a good challenge to play them again, and hopefully we come out with a dub this time.
Definitely. You guys have any other comments on that?
No, he kind of hit it spot on.
Hopefully come out with the win.
Yeah, and I just want to ask, too, overall thoughts. You guys are sitting at 9-1. Do you feel like the regular season was a success? Obviously, at the end of the day, I know you guys want to finish 10-0 and win a conference championship, but what were your kind of thoughts on the regular season in your guys' play?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the first 9 weeks we handled business as we should. Won all the games we should have won by how much we should have won them by, and except for that stumble last week, I thought we did it pretty well.
Building off that, I mean, yeah, it's a success. We beat the teams we were supposed to beat by how much or more than we were supposed to be in by, like Kyler said. It was nice to pick up a big win in week 5 against a quality opponent like Whiteford. And obviously, once you get to past that halfway of the regular season and you're undefeated, your goal is finishing that season out undefeated. And unfortunately, we couldn't do that, but now it's a whole new season, so we're looking to stay undefeated in this one.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm going to open up questions to these guys next.
All right, I'll just ask you guys if you could have anything to do differently last week versus Ottawa Hills. Was Ottawa Hills just better than you guys on that last Friday night in Week 10? Or is there something that you guys weren't able to do that you're normally able to do that the Green Bears were able to stop?
I'd say we just really weren't able to play defense. A lot of missed tackles. Really weren't following that ball depth where they had a lot of cutbacks on us and just hit the hole and they were gone.
Yeah, Ottawa Hills, I mean, credit to them. They got a lot of studs. They're a good team. A lot of kids are really fast and just know football. We came in, like Parker said, we weren't ready to play and we didn't play any defense. And when our defense isn't doing good, then our offense wasn't either. So they just kind of jumped on us and they beat us up pretty bad.
Yeah, we always say just sometimes a good offense is a good defense, or good defense is a good offense, depending if they can keep you guys off the field. Obviously, you guys can attack quick, but if they can keep your offense off the field and just keep running the ball, and that makes it tough for you guys to score points.
Yeah. AJ, you have any questions?
I'll let Coach go.
Oh, guys, Kyler, more for you. You've been tearing it up, throwing up some big stats week after week. We see your name listed as, kind of a player of the week nominee just about every week. You've graduated some good receivers. What's some of the connections that you're making with your receivers this year?
Yeah, I mean, this year we have pretty much almost the same wide receiver core we had last year. So, I mean, it was pretty easy to jump into this year with our feet already going. Max, Kendall, Colton, all those guys are already back, Cohen. So, I mean, it really wasn't much of a issue this year.
Made an easy transition for you to into this is your senior year, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, an easy transition for you. And, like I said, you guys are just tearing it up. And, how do you prepare week in, week out under that Bob Olin offense?
I mean, it looks complicated, but it's really about all the same plays, just different formations, different motions, but it's really all simple. I mean, all these guys have been running it for 3 or 4 years now, so we kind of have a pretty good grasp on how it works and how he wants it to look like.
Awesome. I got a question more towards you as well, Kyler. I mean, you're sitting next to Parker Kelley, sitting there, one of your offensive linemen. What do you do to thank them for some of your pass protection that you've got? Because you're putting up passing numbers that are incredible, but that starts up front. So what do you do to thank your offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, we give each other a lot of crap at practice and just messing around a lot with them, but we have a pretty good relationship, so I feel like it makes it pretty easy to do things for each other out on the field.
Good.
So Parker is not buying steak dinners or free ice cream or anything.
Fortunately not. I've been kind of expecting him this year, but oh well.
I mean, we see what happens when you have a quarterback that has a good relationship with their line. When you look at like the Browns, for instance, this week,
Absolutely.
They not having such a great relationship with the quarterback and the offense, but you guys seem to have it clicking pretty well. So. For me, that's kind of really the only question I had for you. But congratulations on a good season, and we hope you make it far in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cohen, I got a question for you, and we'll kind of each ask you guys an individual question. But definitely considered one of the top linebackers in the area. You're a physical football player, even getting some looks at from some colleges as well. I remember getting recruited too, and I remember getting kind of nervous when some of those coaches would come and watch it. Is that affecting your game at all, especially coming in the playoffs? How do you stay focused in playoff time?
I I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not the type of guy who gets too nervous. I know what I'm capable of. I know what my teammates are capable of. So me and them, we just go out there, do us. If the coach is watching, I mean, he's gonna see us put on a show, and it doesn't really affect me too much. I just do what I do, and they can see.
Well said.
I got one for you, Cohen. What's it like to finally get some carries here in 2024?
It's nice. It's nice. I like carrying the ball. I got offensive line who they don't get to run block much, but they're pretty good at it. Parker's pretty strong. We got Blake at the left guard, Mason center, Trent Buck, Brent Reed. They all can run block pretty well. They just open up a hole for me, and I like seeing the open grass and running. It's pretty fun. I like catching it too, though. So.
Yeah, I saw in your stats you had quite a few catches as well. Going on to Max. Max, I got a question for you. Obviously, you've caught a lot of receptions on the year, 60 receptions, 845 receiving yards. You lead the team in both categories, 8 receiving touchdowns. Do you have a memorable catch or play from this season?
Oh, that's a tough one. It'd probably just be one of our trick plays we have. I catch a little screen and then I throw it, and that's probably my most memorable reception I have, even though I don't really do much on it besides throw it. But
did you complete the pass?
I don't think I did this year, but last year I did. I know.
Okay.
That.
Hey, okay.
Oh, for me, Kyler, I'm going to come back to you. You've thrown the ball 323 times this season, and you're completing 66% of your passes. You've only thrown 3 interceptions. And when I think about that, you've got to be studying game film and understanding defenses. And what are you doing to learn defensive schemes and finding out where your best matchup is, or, receiver to defensive back kind of thing?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, during the week, you got to watch a lot of film. You got to watch the teams that are doing things similar to you guys so you can kind of see how those guys react to what you're doing. You got to watch how the corners are going to play, their tendencies, and it's kind of easy to pick it apart when you look at your matchups and you can kind of visualize throughout the week what they're going to do, and it just makes it all easier on Friday night.
Yeah, obviously, like I said, 3 interceptions, that's incredible throwing the ball that many times.
And Parker, I got to give you a shout-out, man. O-line and D-line, that's where it's at. I tell you what, I was a former O-line and D-line. I played offensive line in college at Findlay, so definitely got to hit you up here. So my question for you is, you play O-line and D-line, you play in the trenches. How do you prepare for a matchup with tough teams, especially like the upcoming matchup against Macomb? Because Macomb's got some big boys. They're always known for their top offensive and defensive line. So what are your thoughts on your preparation for them?
Well, all that starts before the season, obviously, and during some of it, lifting weights, getting strong, conditioning. When it comes to practice, really just working on your techniques, double team, stay low, make a pile, try to split it. If they're blocking down on you, try and get across the face. Really just work on my physical game when it comes to that stuff and try and win my matchups.
Yeah, well said. I mean, that's big, and I agree with you. A lot of the stuff that you're where you're at in your season and where you're at in, how you both play on your own individual self and the team. I mean, that's all before the season, with practicing and weightlifting and all that. And it all leads up to, where you guys have success now and you guys are in playoff time and, you guys got a solid seed at the 5 seed and you get to host a home game. So I agree with you.
Hey, guys, one thing that I want to ask you, I mean, obviously you don't go 9-1. It's not an easy task. And when you go 9-1 or you got the record in the team that you guys have, what do you guys do that together that builds team chemistry that keeps this little train rolling?
I mean, this is kind of true for all the schools in the area, but being from Edon, we're one of the smallest ones. Well, I've known these guys my whole life. We grew up together. Since we were little, we spent countless amounts of days and hours together. And then now currently, after practice, we're going out to get a bite to eat, or we'll go out and watch film together, watch the Thursday night football game or something. We're always with each other, interacting, hanging out. And it's just a group of guys who we know really well, and we love them all. So it's a real brotherhood. I know everyone says that, but we got a really strong one over here.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, just basically a bunch of friends hanging out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got to ask, you said go out to eat. Where do you guys go out to eat at being in Edon? Obviously, Edon's in rural Northwest Ohio, but, what's the number one place you guys like to go to get something to eat?
Got to go to Moe's in Angola.
Moe's in Angola?
Yeah.
I'll have to
We
check
really
it out
don't go
sometime.
anywhere else.
What's at Moe's in Angola that we need to go eat?
It's like
It's
Chipotle.
pretty much like Chipotle, but better.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Some people will disagree, but
Yeah, we'll have to keep it on our radar if we're ever around Angola for sure. I think we got time for maybe just a couple more questions. Keith, you got any?
Yeah, I'll open this up to all you guys. You can answer if you wish. But what's it like to play for Coach Olin, who's been around for, 3-4 decades? I mean, he's been coaching, 30 years before you kids were even born. What's it like to play for Coach O?
Man, he can be a bear sometimes, but it's a real good time. I like having him around, and he knows how to bring us up during practice, and he's just an overall really good coach.
yeah, he really knows when it's time to have fun and make jokes, and when it's time to start focusing up and practicing hard. But yeah, it's real fun.
Yeah, Coach O, he's a guy. He knows his stuff really well. Obviously, being successful as he's been over 40 some years now. But yeah, I mean, we're doing good. He'll let us crack a couple jokes. He'll crack some jokes to us. But when it's time to focus up, like this week, we need to lock in. He makes sure we're locked in and ready for the challenge. And him and our assistant coaches do a great job breaking down the film for us, making it real easy to understand. So it's a real pleasure and a blessing to play for a coach like him who knows as much as he does.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'll wrap things up. Do you guys have one more question maybe?
Nope.
All right. Well, my last question for you guys is, what is it going to take to make a deep playoff run for the Edon Bombers? Obviously you guys have a high-powered offense. You guys have a really good defense this year too. But, how are you guys going to get past Macomb? What's going to take to get a win and make a deep run?
Starts with watching film, knowing the opponent, knowing what they do, knowing their tendencies. We got to come together, play as one, be more physical, be more athletic, just do your assignment, do your job.
Yep. To get past Macomb, starting off, we're going to have to be a lot tougher than we have been in the past years. Guys are going to have to do their jobs, and we get on each other, but like I said, we've known each other our whole life, so we know it's nothing personal. It's just to help you get better. So, yeah, we just got to play tougher. We got to show up and play defense. I mean, our offense will do what we do. We score points. As long as we show up and play defense, we'll be able to make a run. And there's some good teams in our region, too, so that's always fun to play good teams. But I believe in us.
Well, guys, I picked you guys to knock off Macomb, so let's make it happen.
Yeah, we got it.
All right. Well, I think that concludes it from us. But again, I just want to thank you guys for taking time. We wanted to give you guys a spotlight because you guys you've done a nice job this year. And sometimes, the smaller schools don't always get all the publicity. So, I think you guys are very deserving of that. So we want to wish you the best of luck Friday night and throughout the playoffs. And, hope you have a good time and enjoy it because, it'll be gone before you know it. So, good luck this Friday.
Thank you.
Yep, go get him, guys.
We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Looking to remodel or expand your home? Building with Faith Construction specializes in quality remodeling services and additions to make your dream space a reality. From general construction to detailed renovations, trust Building with Faith to bring experience, reliability, and craftsmanship to every project. Give them a call today at 419-980-8850. Start your day off right at Paulding Pancake House, serving up delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner from Tuesday through Sunday. It's your go-to spot for home-style meals at any time of day. Swing by and enjoy everything from classic pancakes to hearty lunch and dinner options. There's something for everyone at the Paulding Pancake House. Craving a local favorite? Head to Ensign's Pub, where you'll find the best hot beef sandwiches and famous knockers in town. Whether you're celebrating after the big game or just need a great meal, Ensign's has you covered. Stop by for great food, cold drinks, and good company. Located on 611 Ottawa Avenue in Defiance, open Tuesday through Saturday. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we had to bring back the buy or sell segment. We had it last playoffs as well, so just a little different take and spin-off of the hot takes. So we have two options. Either you buy and you agree with the statement, or you're selling and you disagree with the statement. So Just makes it interesting. It's a pretty fun time for us. These are typically a little bit shorter than hot takes. So I'll read the statement, and we'll go through, and each of us will take a turn buying or selling and giving the reason why. So do we want to start with Keith and go through this way, or
Yeah, we'll do that.
or Tony?
I don't care. Either way.
All right.
We can do one way and one the other way.
I'll surprise you guys.
Okay.
All right. The first buy or sell statement is if Fairview plays how they did last Friday, they are out of the first round of playoffs. Let's start with Keith. Buying or selling?
I'm going to sell that statement only because even though Hicksville was 2-8, they played much better than a 2-8 team. I mean, they have athletes that are, Brant Langham, for example, one. We've mentioned him multiple times throughout the weeks. And Hicksville's battling injury as well. But, Hicksville's 2-8 on paper, but they're not a 2-8 team, I didn't think. They're more of a, could be with any breaks, 5-5 or 4-6. So, I don't agree with that.
AJ?
I am going to sell that as well. I might have had a little bit of a rough start to the game, but I think overall, William Zedek put up another 326 yards of passing, so it's not like he had a slow game by any means. I think Hicksville just kind of came out doing something right in the first half, or maybe Fairview struggled in the first half, but they got things righted fairly quickly. I think they're fine.
For myself, I am going to sell. I think these guys hit it on the money. Hicksville's a much better team than I think that 2-8 record indicates. They've got really good athletes. Brant Langham, Garrett Turnbull is pretty solid too. Cross Seedike, a good running back. Those kids can play, among many others too. But, guys, I think in Week 10, sometimes when you're in certain positions, Fairview was sitting at, 7-2 at that point. Whether teams think so or not, I do think sometimes if you're the heavy favorite, you do almost kind of, ease up or maybe not play as well as you should in that kind of Week 10 game that really doesn't have all that much meaning. Fairview is already locked into the playoffs. A win helped, but it's not like they're getting all that many computer points from Hicksville as well either. Right. So, for me, I'm definitely selling that one.
Yeah, for me, you guys pretty much said it. Sell. I just think, Fairview may have kind of overlooked Hicksville just a little bit, which led to that slow start, and then they finally got I'm sure they got their butts chewed a little bit and got the ship righted there and took off.
All right, let's go to the next one. If Tenora controls the line of scrimmage, they will beat Cary. AJ.
Oh.
I shocked you on that one.
Well, I think the key there isn't necessarily saying that they will or will not beat Cary. They're saying that if they control the line of scrimmage, they will beat Cary. And if that is true, if they do control the line of scrimmage, I'm going to have to buy. I think if they control the line of scrimmage, they absolutely do win that game. I think that's what this game is going to come down to, is who plays tougher in the trenches. We've seen Tenora struggling with that here recently, especially in the pass protection. But if they come out of this game and have good pass protection and can get a run game going, I think they win it. I think they can handle it very well, but they definitely have to get the control of the line of scrimmage.
I guess we'll go this way.
Yeah.
For myself, I agree with you, AJ. I am buying this game, like you had said, and the statement says it's 100% going to be determined by the battle in the trenches. Cary, again, is Cary of the past. They are big and physical. They like to hit. Similar physicality and style that Liberty Center plays with, except their running backs are usually you're looking at like 220 plus, 230, 240. I think a couple of years ago they had a running back that was 260 pounds.
Yes,
I'm not even kidding. He legitimately, that's a style of offense they run. And again, with Cary too, they literally, if you want to know what kind of team Cary is, the quarterback tosses the ball to their humongous running back. He pivots out, and he's a lead blocker. I have never seen that ever. And he is lead blocking through the interior line and trying to light up a linebacker. So Tenora's going to have their hands full. Again, this Tenora team now is not the Tenora team of the past. In the past, we really liked a physical brand, ground and pound. This year, Tenora really likes to air it out a lot, which is fine. But I think, like AJ said, I think Tenora's got to establish somewhat of a run game. I think they got to get Dominic Graziani involved, running him outside. If they do that, I think they have a chance at winning. But, going into Friday, I think this game's a coin flip, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that, but based on this, I buy. If Tenora controls the line of scrimmage, which they've struggled with, this season, if they control the line of scrimmage, they will beat them.
Keith?
Yep. I go along with what Logan said about the Liberty Center. I'm going to buy this if that is true. Tenora should come on top. Next to Liberty Center, this is probably going to be Tenora's second tough opponent in their 10-game schedule. So that's my personal opinion.
I think so.
This other than Liberty Center, this will be probably the second toughest opponent that the Rams have played in the first 10 weeks. So it's Tenora's the higher seed, but they're going to have to bring their A-plus game to come on top of this, and obviously controlling the line of scrimmage. We'll do that. That's why we're going to also buy.
Yeah, and Cary literally, I know the record's 5-5. They're a 12 seed. In all reality, the games that were so close, they could very easily be an 8-2 team. And actually, they had lost to, like I said earlier, Hopewell Loudon week 1 by just a few points, and they were without some players. I believe I heard due to discipline issues and injuries. And to be in that game and only lose by just a few points, again, this Cary team, though they're 5-5, they're more like an 8-2 team. Yep. So, but Tenora will have their hands full. Next statement, which this one could get a little bit a difference here. So, Napoleon makes it to the regional semifinals. So, Napoleon's a 13 seed. They're favored on Drew Pasture by 5 points against the 4 seed Clearview, which is 8-2. That's a pretty big margin. 5 points. I'm surprised it's not 1 point or the other direction. So let's kick things over to Tony.
So, I don't think Napoleon, if they knock off Clearview, then possibly they're going to play Bay. Bay's another good football team that they're going to have to beat. I think they're a 5 seed. So I just think it's going to be one of those things where they're going to be in a battle to get to that regional semifinal.
Keith?
I'm going to buy this. Buy. Napoleon has the athletes. I discussed it 101 times. I think Napoleon wins 2 playoff games, and they do make it that far. So I am buying that statement.
Oh, okay. For me, I'm kind of with Coach over there. I think I'm going to sell this one. I think Napoleon has a very uphill battle to get to the regional semifinals. Not saying it's not doable, because it absolutely is. They do have the athletes, like Keith said, but they definitely have an uphill battle to get there.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I think for myself, I'm looking at Joe Idle and who some of the teams have played, but I'm with Keith. I'm going to buy. I think Napoleon has some solid athletes, and I'm glad to see that Napoleon won in Week 10. I think they're going to kind of ride that momentum a little bit, but I think if they get past Clearview, I think they most likely a second-round opponent looking at the bracket would most likely be Bay, the 5 seed, but 6-4. But the NLL is a tough division. Napoleon showed that they can hang with LC, which, granted they're a Division 5 team, but they're a state championship, type caliber team. They can hang with them. They played Anthony Wayne tough. They've got a lot of good athletes. Trey Rubenstein, Parker Woods, George Eggers, Owen Espinoza. Like, how can you deny those guys? And I think because of that, I'm going to buy.
Yep. Split on that one. Awesome.
Next, buy or sell. All of the GMC schools lose first round. Keith, let's go with you first.
Sell. I'm selling that. I think Fairview is pretty well, probably the most solid favorite out of any of those listed. Tenora, like I said, they got to bring their A-plus game to get by Cary. Edgerton and Paulding, unfortunately for those 2 schools, I think they also need to bring a lot to just be competitive in their games, and they'll probably have to take a perfect game for those 2 to win. So, but I'm going to sell that.
And if you guys remember last season in playoffs, I believe every single GMC team lost in the first round of playoffs. So that's why this one was brought up again. AJ, let's swing it to you.
I'm right there with you, Keith. I'm going to sell. Make sure I got it right the way up. Going to sell here. I think, like you said, Fairview definitely an option to win against their opponent. Tenora and Cary is going to be a tight match. That's going to be a very, very tough game. But Paulding and Bluffton is one that I'm very interested in, because Paulding is playing very physical and very tough, And we just saw Bluffton get absolutely smoked by Columbus Grove. Yep. So where does Bluffton really match up compared to what some of these GMC teams does? Paulding very well could go in there and upset. So I'm selling because I really don't think they all lose first round.
Yeah, I agree with you, AJ. For myself, I am selling. I think out of all these teams, I think Fairview has the best shot to get out of the first round. I really do, in terms of how the bracket lays out and who their opponents are. Edgerton's going to have their hands full. Mohawk is a tough team. I believe they're 8-2. They actually beat Cary in week 8 or 9, and Cary's really solid. So I think Edgerton's going to need to be healthy, first of all. I think Maddox Baker's got to be healthy. Joel Walkup has to play if they want to win. Obviously, Scotty Krantz is going to have to have a big game as well. And, with Edgerton, too, I would almost think, obviously, teams kick away from Krantz a lot. But, in college, I remember sometimes we had really good kick returners, but we would kind of do some things. I've even seen it where at the last second they switch return guys, or they set up different things to kind of get him the ball, or they'll even run reverses to get the ball in his hands. I think Edgerton's got to do something like that, because you got to get the ball in some of your best players' hands, and Krantz is one of them. So I think that'll be critical for them. AJ had gave a great analysis on the Tenor-Cary matchup, which we've talked about a ton, because it's going to be one of the bigger matchups around. Fairview, like I said, I think they have a really good shot at winning. Paulding, I think Paulding probably gives Bluffton at least a little bit of a run for their money. I know Bluffton, and Tony had brought up a really good point, after Bluffton just suffering an absolute throttling in week 10 to a really good Columbus Grove team. I'm curious to see how Bluffton responds. I mean, Paulding, though, they've got some really good athletes. They play physical as well, and Bluffton does too. So I think that is going to be quite a battle between those two. Tony?
Yep. I'm selling. I think, I think, like you guys have mentioned, Fairview's obviously got the best shot of getting out. I think the other three are going to be in a battle for their lives.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We just have 2 left here. PH has the best defense, and PH and Patrick Henry has the best defense in Division 6, Region 22. I'll kick things off. I am going to buy. Reason I am buying, you look at their stats, they're giving up 7.2 points per game on defense, 125 yards per game on defense. I went back and looked, and I was like, wow, I did not realize that defense is playing that well. You figure one of the games that they gave up the most points to was, probably Columbus Grove, and I'm assuming Liberty Center as well. They gave up 21 points to Liberty.
21
27
to Columbus Grove.
So other than that, they really kind of, shut everyone else out on defense. They did really well. I also heard, our friend Phil Snow. I mean, I tell you what, Phil is the most knowledgeable guy on high school football. I don't even care about what team in the entire state.
Feels like a football encyclopedia when it comes to high school. It's amazing. But it really is.
Incredible. But he had heard that, Avery Wright, he's a solid linebacker for PH. He tore his ACL supposedly, and he's playing with a brace, and which that's impressive. And you can do. There was a guy before my time at Findlay. His name was Daquan Ford. Heck of a running back. I mean, this dude was freakishly athletic, and he tore his ACL, and he finished out the rest of the season playing with a brace. And you can do it. Definitely have to rehab, and I would probably play with a brace too. But he still had a really successful season, so I'm excited to see what he can do. I believe it's his senior year, so I totally get it. I mean, probably postponing ACL surgery till after the season. But when you got him, defensive lineman Grant Smith, he is one of the best pass rushers in Northwest Ohio. Last year as a sophomore, he was a first-team All-Ohio. This year, I know that his stats may not be what they were last year, but still solid. 83 tackles, 23 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 8 pressures. And I said, too, and I had messaged his dad, I said, Grant has the best get-off of a defensive lineman I've seen in Northwest Ohio. I watched him in some of the games. He is lightning quick. And as an offensive tackle, that is like your nightmare. Like those guys that have that get-off, they have that twitch. And Grant Smith has that. Linebacker Avian Kreider, he's the leading tackler on the team with 95 tackles. 6 tackles for loss, and then you got defensive back Lincoln Krieger. He's a solid kid too, looking to play some college ball, and he'll make some good noise at the next level. But that's my reason for buying.
Buy. Yeah, PH is, I think, one of the best teams in the area, and as Logan has it in his power rankings, they're the number 3 team for a reason. They've only lost to Columbus Grove and Liberty Center. Yeah. And, you mentioned the 125 yards per game. Well, 40 of those were to 2 teams. Everybody else never broke 6. He had 6, 6, 6. Well, I take it back. Archibald had 7. There was 2 in there to somebody. So it's, I buy. That's easy.
Keith?
Yeah, Coach Fairchild stole all my thunder there on the scores, but I'm going to buy. They only had 2 opponents in double digits and 3 shutouts, so PH definitely the best defense in that region.
And I'm going to buy as well. Like you said, 2 games where they were in double digits, and both of those teams they gave up double-digit points to were probably the 2 best teams in Northwest Ohio, at least for our rankings.
And quite possibly the state.
Yeah, and we're very well looking at maybe even state. So, I think their defense, and they played very well against Liberty Center. Yeah. So I'm definitely buying.
And just for reference, other teams in that Division 6, Region 22, Bluffton at the 2 seed, which we saw, they gave up a lot of points to Columbus Grove. I think Bluffton's defense is still solid, but I think Patrick Henry's maybe been a little bit more battle-tested than Bluffton. Evergreen's in there. Tenora's in there. Carey's in there. I mean, Tenora's defense is solid too. How many shutouts? What, four in the year? Fairview, they're obviously more of an offensive team. They love to pass the football. Their defense is it's much improved this year. Paulding is the 15 seed. Paulding had some kids, like I said. Their defense, they like to hit hard. Probably one of the hardest hitting teams, I think, around, or that we've at least seen this year. So they're solid. Carey's got a decent defense. But, yeah, I think Patrick Henry at the 4 seed, I mean, I think they got to have probably the best in Region 22. The last buy or sell take is Bluffton. I know it's a little bit out of our coverage area. Bluffton is the Penn State of the NWC. It's all fun and games until Big Brother shows up. AJ.
I love this reference because that really does sum up Penn State. I don't know. The last year and this year, I'm going to buy with that one. Bluffton having a good season, but until Columbus Grove showed up and showed them where they really stand, I mean they're having a fantastic season. So I think they're going to continue to have a good season. It might come down to regional finals before they find out the results of that game again. So,
ooh, I don't know. I'm just looking at their schedule and seeing who they played. You know, guys, actually, I think I am going to sell. The reason I'm selling, I'm looking at their schedule here, and I totally agree with the point that, you know, they play Columbus Grove and they lay an egg, but you look at their schedule. Week 2, they beat a 7-3 Pandora Gilboa team 42-0, which we saw Grove play them week 1, and you know that Pandora Gilboa ended up losing 7-35, so the scoring margin was a little bit more that game. Granted, you know, they played a 1-9 Ayersville team, a 3-7 Benjamin Logan team, so their non-conference was so-so. They beat a 7-3 Lima Central Catholic team 35-0, which we saw just a couple of weeks ago. Columbus Grove only beat them by 8 points, 28-20, and just going through their other schedule, beat a 5-5 Fort Loramie team. So I mean, really, they had a really good season, except the Columbus Grove game. So for that, I got to sell.
I don't know, when you were comparing it to Penn State, I was watching the Penn State game the other day, and they said Penn State was trying to battle to not lose to an opponent other than Michigan or Ohio State in the past, like, I don't forget how many years it said. So, you know, Bluffton got beat by Columbus Grove twice last year, got beat by them again this year.
I mean, it's like a...
What are you going to go with?
Buy. I buy that. You're gonna have to knock off the big boy to get some respect, and that's the same thing Penn State's got to do. If Penn State wants some respect, they're going to have to beat the Buckeyes this weekend, plain and simple.
What's Keith Brown thinking down there?
If we're just talking, okay, I'm going to do a 50-50. I'm going to buy and sell 50% of each of my stock.
Is that legal here?
How does that?
Because
I don't know if that's legal.
If you go to the store, can you half and half something? I don't think you.
I want half the banana and half the apple.
I think half.
Keith's just going to walk out of the store with it.
I'm going to half and half it because we're talking specifically in conference NWC. I would have to agree with that because they can't get over the hump, which no teams can, of Columbus Grove. If you're looking long-term into the playoffs, they had a pretty decent run last year. They actually beat Ottawa Hills 34-0. So I think they went 4 games
but
into
until
the
they met
playoffs.
Columbus Grove.
But they got beat by Columbus Grove, but that's
twice, too.
There's that big brother again.
In the playoffs. So if we're talking in-season, conference, yes, I would buy that. If we're talking overall, long-term, like I said, they made looking at the scores last year, they shut out Ottawa Hills 34-0, beat Winford 38-0, beat Paulding 63-6. Then they lost to Columbus Grove 17-10. In that game we were at, which was actually a really good game.
It was a good game.
So that's why I'm doing a 50-50 buy-sell split.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was allowed.
We're making our own new rule.
Rip him in
I think
So next time, if you go to the pawn shop,
Yep.
what are you going to do? You're going to walk in there and say, I'm going to half and half. I'm going to sell half this. I'm going to buy half of it. Keep half of it.
I want to sell half of this and buy half of that.
I just think Bluffton's kind of like, the big fish in the pond, but then you always have a bigger fish. And I think Columbus Grove is always that bigger fish. Yeah. At least recently here they are.
I agree.
All right. Well, that concludes our buy or sell. So keep sending those in. A little bit shorter than the hot takes, but we got to keep the hot takes. There's a couple good ones here tonight. So again, it's the hot takes presented by BSN Sports. We got to give that introduction. So we're going to get into some things here. So the first hot take is, if you can't walk the walk on the gridiron, don't talk the talk on social media. And I'm sure
Is there
people
something behind this?
I'm
sure
assuming it's probably Columbus Grove and Bluffton. if I had to guess, knowing who this was sent from. But who wants to kick this one off?
I'm just going to say I don't even know what they're talking about, to be honest. Are they talking about students, players?
I think basically the background is just, fans, players, whoever on social media, running their mouths, and then at the end of the day, if things don't end up in the right win column,
I want to say, just from the start, just don't talk the talk on social media. Just let your play speak for you.
Yeah,
there's no reason to go on social media and talk crap to other teams. It's just I get it's a rivalry, but yeah, it's fuel for the other team. That more motivation for them to come out and whoop you on Friday night. And there's no reason to be on social media for that kind of purpose. It's just not good.
I agree. I mean, it does kind of play into the hype too, but I think at the end of the day, if you're going to talk smack, talk it on the field. I mean, that's where it's meant to be. And sometimes social media can get twisted in different ways too and can give you a bad look. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, and that's no matter what, our college coaches always told us, stay off social media. Do not post anything out there about the opposing team or anything like that. So,
well, even on, I'm sorry, don't interrupt.
No, you're good.
Even on the field sometimes, though. And I'll give you a great example. With our 8th grade team, we played Wayne Trace, and I don't know if I talked about it before. We got rained out, had to finish the game because it's a conference game, so we had to finish it. Well, we were kind of getting thumped. When we came back, we weren't ready to play, and Wayne Trace jumped on us and got up a couple scores on us. And the one kid from the Wayne Trace team, according to our kids, said he was mouthing off and kept saying, "Look at the scoreboard, look at the scoreboard." And we kept battling, and Wayne Trace came back and scored with under a minute in the game, right around a minute in the game. And he was mouthing off to the kids saying, "Look at the scoreboard." And we marched back down and scored with 12 seconds left on the clock, and we ended up winning that game. So be careful running your mouth, even on the field, because
I got to tell you a story here in a minute.
Go ahead.
So I in my life, in my athletic career, I never talk crap. That's just not who I was. I went out there. Like AJ said, I wanted my play to represent. I guess talking smack or whatever. But I do have to laugh. I learned so much on the field of things people said. I had no idea what they meant, but I learned, at the game or after it. And I had to laugh because there were some teams when we played Fair State. Fair State's always one of the top teams in Division II. We went up there and we took them down to the wire. We had a chance to knock them off. We were the underdogs, and Fair State was I think they were the number 1 team in the nation. And we had a chance to win in overtime. But that game, the left guard that was playing, I won't name any names, but they were picking on him so much. And it was, I was laughing because it was so bad and it was so funny. And I couldn't believe that people could talk smack like that. And I remember going over to the sideline and my left guard, because I played left tackle, and he was just so worked up. He's like, I'm going to get back out there and just absolutely kill that dude. And it was just unbelievable. I just sitting back and laughing the whole time because these guys are just jawing and they are picking at him the entire game. And it was awesome too, because, it was a really good game, and geez, I think half that defense ended up, either making an NFL roster or getting a chance to play in the NFL too. So they're really good. But yeah, definitely in college, you learn a lot of different things that, especially coming from a rural Northwest Ohio community like this, I definitely got cultured in college. So that's for sure.
Oh, shoot. Oh, me? Yeah, I agree with AJ and Tony, all you guys said. Just play the game. Don't showboat. Just be like Barry Sanders, Marvin Harrison. Just play the game. If you score, toss the ball to the ref. And don't post your anonymous quote, or I guess don't post your quotes under anonymous on social media. I mean, you could be a basketball player that's out here running your mouth about football, and you still got your winter sports season to go. Yep. So I don't want to, read that stuff. But, yeah, just play. That's it. Simple. I'm old school. If you get a first down, go back to the huddle. You score a touchdown, celebrate for a second, toss the ball to the ref. Just too much showmanship.
Yeah, in football. Like, if you talk about that, after you make a sack, running 5 yards down the field and just, I'm okay with celebrating and getting jacked up, but all the extracurricular stuff, leave it off.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to the next one, and this is a good one. Someone wanted to know, best football player to ever come out of Northwest Ohio. Some of the names that were brought up, Ayersville's Chris Schlachter. I don't know if these stats are correct or not, but they said 1,800 yards and only played first half in a lot of games. Guys like David Rose from Montpelier, 1993. I actually interviewed those guys. Yeah. Great group of guys. So, some of the better teams of all time came from that early 90s era, and David Rose was one of them. 1,900 yards, 33 rushing touchdowns the one year. Ryan Radcliffe, quarterback from Fairview. Ben Wonderly, from wide receiver from Fairview. So those two played together. Radcliffe went on to play at Central Michigan?
Yeah.
I believe Central. And then he said, pick a Smith brother from Liberty Center. Corey Griggs from Wauseon. His name has been brought up quite a bit. We had talked about different team, what would be your ultimate matchup of, any team from any era, and that Wauseon team got brought up. Mark Krause from Patrick Henry went on to play some AAA and Major League Baseball for a little bit too.
Houston Astros, I believe.
Astros, and I believe he played for the Mud Hens too. So for a little while. Mike Bum from Montpelier in 1992, and then I threw on another great one that came to mind, DJ Newman, Archbold. He was a generational talent. I got to see him play personally. But with all that being said, is there one player that really sticks out to you that was just top dog in Northwest Ohio out of all the years? I really don't know. I mean, I wasn't even born when a lot of these guys were playing, or I was really young, like even early 2000s. I mean, I was born in 1997, so I still would have been, if these were playing in early 2000s, I would have been, under the age of 10. So I don't really know.
I'm going to come back to Sonora. Sonora's had some really good running backs, back in the 2000, mid-2000s, 2008, 9, 10. Lyndon Beneke, Kit McCann, had he not torn his ACL a senior year, probably would have broke every rushing record Sonora had.
He had broke 900 yards before conference play started.
Yeah, so in the first 3 games, he had 900 yards.
He had over 300 yards a game for the first 3 games.
I just think he was an absolute stud. If you're talking about people that led teams to, Tom Ward comes to mind from Defiance.
Yeah. Which that was shocking. We brought up just Joey Robinson from Defiance broke his tackling record, which that's impressive because Tom Ward is a legend over at Defiance too. Was a great athlete.
So I mean, who was the other running back from? I'm blanking right now from Sonora. Keith, you'll know. Played back when Beneke did.
Blake Ford.
Blake Ford. Yes, came to me just he said, Blake Ford, another great. I mean, I think he holds the record if I remember right, or did.
He did. Riley Noggle holds the record now.
Broke it, but there's a lot of great players from Sonora, and I'm just thinking about those guys. And I'm sure
even Kevin McCann.
Kevin was an awesome athlete too. So, but Chris Schlachter from Ayersville. I mean, being able to play against that guy, he was there kind of when I played, and he was pain in the butt. Pain in the butt.
Yeah. Name I got to throw out there for best football player to come out of Northwest Ohio. He's still in Northwest Ohio playing football, but Barraza, I mean, he's got to be one of the best running backs we've ever had in Northwest Ohio. Right up there with some of these other guys that I mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is he at? Over 2,000 yards now?
Oh yeah. For the season.
Not for the season. No. He's chasing right now career rushing yard record, which was held previously by Ben Mag, I think, Blaine Mag, which he's held that record. Actually, that's a state record. Up towards the top in state rankings too.
One of the best. He's chasing one of the best records in the state, let alone Northwest Ohio. So definitely worth talking about there.
Keith, what about you? You've seen a lot of different athletes.
All these kids play. As Coach Fairchild said, I mean, Chris Schlachter to me and probably Coach he was like a folk hero back then. I mean, that's all you heard about back in this era was, Chris Schlachter. You turn on, he couldn't go to some of these games, so you turned on 1280, listen to Marv Sebring, talk about Chris Schlachter. I mean, he was like a god in our eyes back then. Denny Martin, Chris Schlachter, and that Ayersville team. Dave Rose, a hell of a player from Montpelier. I mean, talked about Ryan Radcliffe a lot. Ben Wanderley, heck of a receiver. Mark Krause, great. Mike Bum, I never saw Mike play. DJ Newman, I mean, heck of a sport athlete. One person that's not on here is Archibald had Andy Peterson. He was a running back, I'm going to say early 80s, about 82, 83. Actually went on to play for Army.
Wow.
It was a running back for Army. So Andy Peterson is a name that's omitted from this list. He was a heck of a running back. But again, I'll say it 1,001 times. Probably the best athlete that I've seen.
I already know who you're going with.
In these three sports was Corey Griggs. I mean, that kid was so talented. I mean,
I want to see. Does YouTube have any videos of him playing?
I would doubt it
anything?
because he probably played in.
I was wondering if someone threw on maybe like the old
early
1993 state championship film.
I'm sure there's somewhere, but
everyone,
early 90s.
Everyone throws his name around, and I want to see him play.
I mean, talking about all-around athlete kind of thing. I mean, man, I'm sorry, but you got to throw out the Dravis boys. I mean, Landon and Derek. Derek, three-sport. I mean, three-sport, first-team All-State, baseball, football, and basketball. I mean, I seen that kid play with his head cut open, with his finger broken, and this is in basketball.
Well, we saw him make about 2 or 3 straight trips to the emergency room in about 2 or 3 weekends. Well, Logan was probably playing too about that time.
Yeah, I think Logan, you probably were playing in then. But
Landon Dravis playing baseball slides into the fence and ends up like, what did he do?
Bruises.
Rupture his spleen or not rupture,
kidney
or
something.
Yeah,
he crashed
something
the fence.
Goofy that playing hard.
I mean,
there's ball.
And so you talk about these athletes. There's fantastic athletes in Northwest Ohio, and you can just keep going, naming a bunch. And we're only naming some. I mean, how do you not name the Speece boy from Trace?
Colby Speece. Yeah.
So you just keep going. You keep going. You just keep
football wise, Kobe was really good. I mean, he was an okay basketball player and baseball player, I think. But
I got a name for you, a couple names for you. I know they're outside of our coverage area, but there's 2 in particular that I have seen personally play, and that is a couple of guys from Kenton. And that's Matty Mock and Grant Sherman. I didn't get a chance to see Ben play because he was a little bit older, but Grant Sherman actually holds the state record for Kenton and the most passing yards in a game. You want to know what that record is? 684 yards.
My word.
September 14th, 2012 against Lima Shawnee.
That's a state record?
Wow.
Yes.
Well, if Tenora hadn't got their crap together, Zeke would have broke that this year.
And you know who's number 2 for a game? Ryan Radcliffe, 678.
Wow.
You know who's 4th? Ryan Radcliffe. And you know who's 5th? Another Sherwood quarterback, a Fairview quarterback, James Elkinger. He was right before Radcliffe.
I don't remember him, honestly, for some
reason.
reason.
Or no, I'm sorry, right after Radcliffe. Okay. But he was another good quarterback, too. I've heard his name tossed around. But and Matty Mock's up there, too. Most passing yards in a career, I believe Grant Sherman holds that, too.
That was
Matty Mock is the most in a career with 18,932 passing yards in a career.
For high school.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That was a name I was trying to think of earlier was Matty Mock. He played for Missouri?
Yeah, he did. And just kind of interesting, too. You know who else is kind of in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 8 is Drew Gallahue from Edon, 11,262, right behind Joe Burrow. That's kind of interesting. So, but yeah, I had watched Grant Sherman and Matty Mock play. Actually, Ramirez took us down in 8th grade to go watch Kenton play Defiance. Oh, and I kid you not, Matty Mock. We were standing along the sideline, and we had got there. I think we kind of got there maybe a little bit late, and all of a sudden we're by the sideline. And Matty Mock takes off running the ball. He was just as good of a runner as he was a passer. I kid you not, and I was in junior high, but I mean, this seemed larger than life. He hurdled a guy from Defiance. I kid you not. He jumped to like the top of the yard marker stick. At the time, it seemed, because I was in junior high, but oh my goodness, he was unbelievable to watch play. granted, I don't think his college career played out. I mean, I think he ran into some issues, but he was the high school Johnny Manziel of this area, and he was spectacular. I mean, I would pay money to go watch him play again, or go back and, if you could watch a game in person when he was at Kenton, because it was unbelievable. I mean, he was truly something special. Well, I mean, I think we covered that one pretty good. Yeah, a lot of great athletes, but definitely create some good conversation. So let's go ahead. We're going to look at one more hot take here, and we're looking at, this is a topic that has been brought up more in the last 72 hours than probably I've ever heard in my life. Everyone's talking about this. The OHSAA needs football to return to 6 divisions and either take the top 8 or 12 teams per region. And this person in particular, like 12, give the top 4 a bye. Less likely for a strong region to have a 10-0 or 9-1 team miss the playoffs, which I'm not sure what that. I don't know. I kind of thought about that one.
Say, how do you have a 10-0 or 9-1 team miss a playoff?
But I didn't know about that. But yeah, I mean, that's been
sure doesn't happen at the upper divisions because they don't have enough.
No,
teams that don't have any wins.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But yeah, I agree. I mean, if you want to keep 7. I think 7 divisions is fine and whatnot, but I think you have to, look at reducing the amount of teams. And you look at the Marion Local situation. Marion Local was supposed to play, I can't remember who they had initially scheduled, but they went through 3 different teams, and they all declined to play Marion Local round 1 as a 16 seed. And the 4th and final team that finally said, yep, we're going to play Marion Local was a conference opponent in Fort Recovery, and they said, we're going to take on the challenge. So, I mean, that I've never heard of that in any kind of sport.
Crazy.
Denying a playoff spot. I mean, do you see teams in March Madness deny a 16 seed? I mean, that's the whole goal, is to get into the dance to have an opportunity.
Don't want to play Marion Local so bad that you said, nope, we'll just end our season now. Like there's no reason to go play that game. That's speaking to how good Marion Local is, but also the fact that the matchups and competitive balance and stuff obviously does not play anywhere near where it needs to be.
Yeah, and I don't know how you correct that. I mean,
the competitive balance.
Yeah,
I was thinking about this.
The school's small. They're a public school, right? I mean, they're not a private school. That's the only thing that I hear people complain about a lot, is they need to take the private schools out. Go down lower divisions, but take the private schools and put them in their own divisions, and let them play in their own side. Which, They don't recruit, but they do recruit. But I don't know how else you handle it.
I mean, you hear more of that about basketball really than football for private schools,
right?
At least, I mean, but I mean, we talked about this 1,000,001 times. I said it too. 12 teams is perfect. You give the first 4 a bye, and you let the bottom just
have kind of a wild card,
fight each other out, and
play.
Do you give a high school team a bye though? I mean,
I think it's almost better for physicality and like being healthy.
Do you give them
a week?
I have said that before too.
Breathe for a second.
Do you give the top 4 teams the option of a bye?
I would say an option.
I mean, I think
that's what they do in baseball and softball. And we get to you pick where you want, and you can pick the bye or not pick the bye.
Okay, well, you being a softball coach, answer me this. So the question, about a bye in football and playoffs. My personal opinion, I think a bye is good. Like AJ said, I'm looking at it more from a health perspective because football is such a physical sport. Yep. But when you look at sports like basketball, softball, baseball, I like momentum. You almost kind of saw it with the Tigers when they were playing the Guardians. I mean, they were hot. And, I think if you have a bye, I think in those sports, it really throws your momentum off. But in football, I think it's a totally different ballgame. I think at that point, health is more important than anything else because it's a long season, especially now when they play 16 games. I mean, you have to play 6 playoff games. The 6th game is this championship game. What are your thoughts on,
when it comes to football, it's even when you get into softball, baseball, basketball, they're all like, as you get down to the end of the season, it kind of gets a little grueling.
It's a game of attrition.
Do you get a bye in the playoffs for softball? I don't.
You can choose. It's not really a bye. You play. There's play-in games basically.
Okay.
The lower seeds, typically the higher seeds pick, the spot in the bracket, and then other teams have to play in to play you. So it's not really a bye per se, but just the other teams have to play in to get to you. But, in football, the rest week could help you. But, again, I'm kind of like one of those things where I want to keep things normal.
But let me put this in a perspective. You get an extra week to prepare for that matchup.
But you don't, because you don't know who you're playing. You won't know who you're playing because you got to wait to see who wins before. So you're not going to. I guess you could kind of prepare for those two teams, and but you really, you won't know who you're playing until they play Friday night and win, and then you're going to prepare. But it would definitely give you a week to work on what you need to work on, your offensive scheme, and your.
If you had a bye week of football, there's no way you can game plan at that point. You have somewhat of an idea, maybe do a little bit of, diving into film to see what you
scouting both teams that you might match up against.
I'd imagine a week at practice, you're probably taking things easy. You're not hitting a lot, obviously, because you're getting late into the season, and maybe just working on fine details of indie drills, walkthroughs, a lot of film study, of being self-critical of themselves. But I like the option of giving the team the option. I think that would be reasonable and sensible. But, I think 12 teams, Keith, I like 12 a lot too.
Yeah, plus, with all the extended periods to coach, you got 7-on-7s to start when in June.
Yeah.
So, basically football starts right after baseball ends. So you go from baseball, you may have a couple-week break, so you got your 7-on-7s, then you got your August 1st practice starts. You're practicing 5 days a week. I guess 4 days a week. You play on Friday night, then you got weights on Saturday, film. You maybe have Sunday free, but you're probably still doing some sort of workout. It's not laying around. So, your average high school athlete in today's era goes from probably participating in sports football-wise from, say, middle of June up until the playoffs start. So I just think, if able, if you go to 12 teams and you give the option for the bye, to give those kids a little rest would benefit. But, yeah, anyways, like we said, we've talked to this to her blue in the face. 16 teams is just too many. So
I think going to the how do you fix the thing with Marion Local being down at Division 7?
Oh, that was a good point. I'm
going
glad you
back
brought
to
that up.
I think one way they can fix that is giving the competitive balance more of an importance than, the school size. Because I think if you start working on competitive balance and maybe use some sort of point system where if you win state, you might be bumped closer to the next division. If you consistently win state, you bump to the next division. Eventually, a lot of these teams are going to start to even out. You might start seeing a Marion Local, even though they're a small school, end up closer to a 4th division or, somewhere like that. You could definitely start balancing things out more if you stop worrying so much about school size.
I guess my question would be then to you guys, if for what AJ says, for competitive balance, how do you schedule a regular season then if you say you're Division 7, then for balance you get bumped up to 5 or even 4? So you have your conference schedule now that is basically probably Division 6 and 7. So you want to, for competitive balance, you get bumped up a couple of divisions. So you're still probably going to play the same teams during the regular season, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until playoff starts. So then playoff starts, then you go from 7 to 5 or even 4, I guess. So
you look at points too, and that's really going to screw you over with, seeding wise, because if you say you're Marion Local, you're Division 7 right now, you play smaller farm schools, you bump up to, let's just say hypothetically, Division 5, Division 4, the way the point system works, the bigger division the school is, you get more points.
Sure.
So you're going to be in that division. Marion Local could go 10-0, and they could, very well end up with a 5-6 seed too. So, that poses kind of a question too in terms of seeding. And I think that's the thing too with teams like Marion Local, playing devil's advocate. Do you punish a team and move them up because they are so successful? At the end of the day, like Tony said, they still are. They're a farm, rural, public school. And just because they're so good and they are able to get pretty much every single male, if you're a boy in that school, you play football, to come out and you have success. Do you punish a team like that? And the other point too, I believe Shelby had brought up, I think they said in Michigan, if you win 2 state championships, you automatically get bumped up a division, which I thought that may be
that would be similar
kind of a good, but where do you draw the line? 2, 3? You don't want to take away from, again, like I said, teams that are this is historical what Marion Local's doing.
Yeah, I saw a point brought up on that, though, that really kind of goes against that is, at what point does it become just a routine for Marion Local? Winning a state championship is Marion Local won another state championship. And I'm sure the kids there are happy about that and absolutely excited about it. But I think it would mean more if they put up a fight in Division 6 or Division 5 and still made it to state. you might start getting more difficult, but if they can move up to Division 5 and still win a state championship, it's like, man, really accomplishing things.
You talk about Marion Local playing tougher competition too. Last night on the X Spaces chat, someone had said, talking about Liberty Center, because there's, talk about the Tenora contract getting rid of and the Napoleon contract getting rid of. So that's 2 open non-conference games for Liberty Center. And we talk about, Columbus Grove, but people are throwing in Marion Local. What about that matchup, Liberty Center and Marion Local?
That would be a fun one to
for
watch.
A non-conference.
Well, you would see where Liberty Center stands, that's for sure. I mean, but that's a jump right there. I mean, Marion Local will be playing a Division 5 team.
Yeah.
But
Liberty
I'm going to be
Center
honest with you, AJ. I don't think it's going to matter. No. Marion Local is a good team. They're coached well. Every kid in that school plays. They all want to play football, and they all want to knock the living crap out of you when they play. And so the Division 7, I just don't know. I don't know how you – I mean, they had a running clock in the state finals last year. I mean,
they have played bigger schools before. If you guys remember, they played Wapakoneta, I think, last year?
Well, they played Coldwater.
Wapakoneta was a Division 3 school last year, and Wapakoneta, was it last year or the year before? But they made a deep playoff run. And so, a Division 7 school is playing Division 3 schools, and they're still winning against quality Division 3 schools. So, I don't know.
I just kind of looking real quick, because it was Lockland, I think it was, Cedarville, and somebody else. I just looked at it. That's who turned down playing against Marion Local to get into playoffs. Lockland, Cedarville, and New Miami all declined, and Fort Recovery decided to play him.
Right.
I was curious because Fort Recovery's in their conference. Let me go back to see if I can find this. They beat Fort Recovery. What was the final score? 62-0. 62-0. And Fort Recovery decides to go ahead and play him.
Props to Fort Recovery for taking on that challenge.
Yeah. Gives the kids an extra week, and but in the end, I don't know. I again, Marion Local is the phenom.
They're the outlier in the situation.
I try to think about, and we're talking way too long on this probably. Yeah. But I think. So I tried to put myself in what would happen if you're doing that at the college level? But then I go with that, the college level, everybody would be on the same playing field. It'd be all, you'd all be Division I in college football, and so it's different. So
it is different.
I don't know. I don't know how you handle that.
But, well, I think we spent quite a bit of. I knew that one was going to go for a while, so that's why we kind of limited it to just 3 hot takes. But no, I like these because I'd rather have these in-depth conversations than rather just little things that we talk about for 2 seconds and we're on to the next thing. So these are what I really enjoy. I know you guys probably do too. Having these in-depth football conversations that are really relevant in today's game. So.
I honestly would like to get, and I'm going to throw this out to you live on air. I would really like to get Michael Hearn and Phil, and have them come in here and the 6 of us sit down and talk about something just like that.
Issue,
just talk about those issues.
That'd be a 3-hour set.
Yeah, you would just that would be a show on its own. Just one topic to talk about.
That would have to be like a postseason show where we sit down and talk about these topics.
Hey.
It would be a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah,
it would be like 5-6 hours worth of talking.
Absolutely.
Because to bounce it off each other, I think it would be
that would be awesome. Hey, maybe we can do it.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Anyway.
All right. Well, we'll wrap things up. Again, I'll keep submitting the hot takes and the buy or sell takes. Keep submitting them, and we'll keep talking about them. We have a really good time with this. This is one of the most popular segments. Again, so thank you to BSN Sports for sponsoring this segment. So we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with round 1 game predictions. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Bad and Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio, call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Truland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. Looking to remodel or expand your home? Building with Faith Construction specializes in quality remodeling services and additions to make your dream space a reality. From general construction to detailed renovations, trust Building with Faith to bring experience, reliability, and craftsmanship to every project. Give them a call today at 419-980-8850. Start your day off right at Paulding Pancake House, serving up delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner from Tuesday through Sunday. It's your go-to spot for home-style meals at any time of day. Swing by and enjoy everything from classic pancakes to hearty lunch and dinner options. There's something for everyone at the Paulding Pancake House. Craving a local favorite? Head to Ensign's Pub, where you'll find the best hot beef sandwiches and famous knockers in town. Whether you're celebrating after the big game or just need a great meal, Ensign's has you covered. Stop by for great food, cold drinks, and good company. Located on 611 Ottawa Avenue in Defiance, open Tuesday through Saturday. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to round 1 game predictions, so we're going to get things rolling here. First game we are looking at is the 11 seed Bowling Green travels to Defiance, the 6 seed. Both teams 6-4. Coming into this game, I think Defiance, it's a huge win in Week 10 that they had against Ottawa Glandorf. Defiance has some solid athletes. Anthony Wilder, like Keith had mentioned earlier, he's 8th all-time in career rushing yards at Defiance, which is very impressive. I think Defiance kind of righted the ship last week, so that was good to see, and Coach Cooper's got the boys playing really well. Just kind of looking at Bowling Green a little bit, I think Bowling Green has too many question marks for me. in terms of some of their opponents. Looking at Bowling Green week 1, they lost to Otsego, which I've seen Otsego play. Otsego's not bad, but they're not the greatest either. 7-41. I don't know. I don't know if I can trust Bowling Green. Supposedly they have a really good running back. Learned that from Phil too. I mean, Phil again is a encyclopedia, but I got to take the Defiance Bulldogs, and I think they play well in week 1, especially being a home game. So give me Defiance.
I hope Defiance and Coach Cooper got things figured out last week. Like we said, they were one of the better teams in the area up until the 2-game losing streak. So taking the Dogs.
Yep, going with the Dogs for me.
Bulldogs for me.
And Matthew had Defiance, so Defiance across the board. Next game, we're looking at the 13 seed Napoleon at 5-5, traveling to the 4 seed Clearview 8-2 in Division 4. This one is definitely an interesting matchup. Napoleon is favored on Drew Pasture's website. Again, like we had said earlier, Napoleon's got a lot of really good athletes. I think if they play to their full potential, I think they win this one. Like we said in the buy and sell, I'm buying on Napoleon, and give me the Wildcats for a round 1 win.
I already said Napoleon's going to win 2 playoff games, so sticking to that, taking the Cats.
One, I said they had an uphill battle, so I think I'm going to go with Clearview.
I'm going with Clearview. I think they're going to be a little bit too much for Napoleon, and Napoleon's got to drive to get there. So,
and Matthew had Clearview, so we were pretty split on that game. Next game, we're still looking at Division 4. Ottawa Glandorf, the 10 seed, 5-5, travels to the 7 seed Galleon, 7-3. Just giving a little bit of a look at Galleon here. Galleon's top wins against a 5-5 River Valley Division 4 team, 5-5 Pleasant team. They did have a loss, a 6-35 loss to Shelby earlier in the season, 10-0, which is really good. So, I mean, they played a tough schedule. Ottawa Glandorf in the WBL, that schedule is no joke either. I really kind of contemplated this game back and forth too. Ottawa Glandorf's got a really solid defense, but I think there's just a lot of inconsistencies right now. I think if the offense shows up, I think OG's got a really good shot, but I think I got to take Galleon.
Taking Galleon.
Yep, I'm going with Galleon.
Guys, I'm going to OG. I think OG's going to go down there and sneak one away from these guys.
And Matthew had Galleon, so Tony trying to be a man of the people for OG Titans. Next game, we're looking at the 15 seed Utica at 4-6, traveling to the 2 seed Liberty Center 10-0, looking at Division 5. This one's a no-brainer. Liberty Center is going to win this one big, probably a running clock. And what did you say this drive is for Utica? 2 hours and
2 hours and 35 minutes.
35 minutes. That's a long bus ride home, I tell you what.
Yep.
Give me the Tigers.
Yeah, that's a 6-hour bus trip, round trip to get your butt whooped. So taking the Tigers.
Yep, unfortunately. Fortunately for Liberty Center, they're going to have a good one here. So,
yeah,
Tigers.
The atmosphere is going to be crazy at Liberty Center. So, yeah, Tigers all the way.
And Matthew had Liberty Center as well. So, Liberty Center from all of us. Next game, the 13 seed Delta 6-4 travels to the 4 seed Norway 9-1, looking at Division 5 as well. Delta dropped a tough one in Week 10 to Evergreen. Again, Delta's got a really good running game, but they kind of struggle in the pass attack. Norwayne, don't know too much about them. Pull them up here real quick just to get an idea.
Norwayne.
Sorry, this isn't real quick.
When you want it to be quick, it's
right.
Never quick.
Now it's loaded. Norwayne. Schedule. Week 1, they played a St. Clairsville team, 10-0. They lost by 1 score, 21-28. They play a Canton Central Catholic 5-5 team. Best win came against a Dalton team, 7-3. Dalton's historically a really solid team in Division 6. They won that game 17-14. I think Norwayne's just going to be too much, especially with the adversity Delta has to face. They travel the furthest out of anyone in Northwest Ohio in our coverage area at 2 hours and 45 minutes. So that's a long bus ride for them. But I'm taking Norwayne in this one.
Yep, good season by Delta. Unfortunately, comes to an end Friday night. Norwayne for me.
Yep, same. Going with Norwayne.
Norwayne for me as well.
And Matthew had Norwayne as well. Next game, we're looking at the 12 seed Archbold 6-4, heading to the 5 seed Eastwood 9-1. Again, another team in Division 5. I think Eastwood's just going to be too much for Archbold. Archbold's kind of had an up and down season and all around. They've definitely shown some potential here and there, but Eastwood is historically a solid playoff team. I think Eastwood takes this one by 21 points or more.
I'm with you, Logan. Taking the Eagles of Eastwood.
Eastwood
for me.
And Matthew had Eastwood. Next game, looking at Division 6, Paulding, the 15 seed 7-3, travels to the 2 seed Bluffton 9-1, and we kind of talked about this matchup a little bit. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Bluffton wins this game, but I think Paulding, I think their physicality matches up with Bluffton. I think that this game's maybe a little bit closer than what people initially anticipate, but I still think Bluffton's probably going to win by 3 scores or more.
I actually kind of the opposite with you, Logan. I think Bluffton's just going to win this one, and it's not going to be close.
I think this is definitely the more intriguing of the broader matchups. The 2 versus 15, the 1 versus 16 kind of thing. I think this is probably the more intriguing one because I don't really know where they match up. I know Paulding is physical and tough, and like I said before, Bluffton dropped one to Columbus Grove, so I don't really know, but it could get interesting for sure. I am going to go with Bluffton, but I would not be surprised if Paulding fights back quite a bit.
But I don't know. I look at this and this is the one that keeps popping out on me. But Drew Pasteurs has got Bluffton picked to win by 33.
Wow.
I think he might have this one wrong. But I'm going to stick with Bluffton. I think Bluffton's going to rebound. But I tell you what, I really this is an intriguing pick for me. I really think Paulding, depending on who shows up, can probably knock Bluffton out.
Yeah, let's look at the other one. Cal Preps has it 44-7.
44-7.
Sometimes I hear some of the scores from Cal Preps. I think sometimes they're accurate, but sometimes I feel like they're way off too.
I think Bluffton's defense is going to be a little bit too tough for Paulding.
And Matthew had Bluffton as well. Next game, still looking at Division 6 here, and we are looking at the 13 seed Evergreen 6-4 travels to the 4 seed Patrick Henry 8-2. These two are conference rivals and opponents. Earlier in the season, Patrick Henry won this matchup 35-6. As we always say, I personally think it's tough to beat a team twice. I mean, I've experienced it. That we're on the losing end in the playoffs. But I don't know. I really don't know what we're going to get out of this. I know we're probably going to get Evergreen's best. We're going to probably get Patrick Henry's best. I think at the end of the day, I think obviously Patrick Henry wins. I think they're one of the favorites in this division and in particular region. But, let's see what Evergreen can do. They've got some good athletes, but, playing at PH, that's always a tough place too. But give me the Patriots.
Similar to Delta for me. Fantastic season by Coach Bach and Evergreen, but Patriots take this one big.
Patriots for me as well. I do want to go back to the Paulding-Bluffton matchup again real quick here. Looking at Drew Pasture, he had Bluffton predicted to win against Columbus Grove.
I know.
So, yeah,
I know.
I think he's got them overhyped a little bit. But, I'm going back to this game. I'm going with Patrick Henry big time.
Yeah, congratulations to Coach Bach for getting into playoffs. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, Keith, Delta, and Evergreen getting in, and unfortunate matchups at the beginning. So I'm going with Patrick Henry.
And Matthew had Patrick Henry as well. Next game, this is going to be the game of the week because we're going to be there, and this is a coin flip. I mean, it really is. The 12 seed Cary travels at 5-5 to Tenor, the 5 seed at 7-3. Oh boy, I'm going to leave this one up to fate. I think there's a coin over there. Give me a coin, Keith. I haven't picked out. We're going to leave this up to fate.
Oh boy,
I really do. I think this is up a coin flip.
Coin flip.
What do we want? Heads Tenor, tails Cary.
Okay.
Yep.
Heads. All right. It's Tenora. All right.
A literal coin toss.
Going Tenora on this one. We had talked about this matchup a lot. Cary's a really physical team. They're the Cary that they're historically known for. A very physical team. They're big up front. They got a running back that, I don't know exactly what his weight is, but, running backs that are 230-plus pounds. They're going to be running the football. Their quarterback's going to lead block for them. Unbelievable if you ask me. But in order for Tenor to win, and we've said it before and I'll say it again, they have to win up front. And it's going to rely not on the defensive line, the offensive line. They've got to be able to run block. And not only that, they have to pass block because Owen Farrell throws a really nice ball, and they've got some athletes out in space. And if they want that, their offensive line has to play well. If they win on Friday night, I think the offensive line gets player of the game, if you ask me. So I'm going to Nora on a coin flip.
All great, valid points by Logan right there. But I agree with everything that we've said throughout the podcast about this matchup. Similar to the Browns this week, the Browns had trouble pass blocking, so they obviously quarterback was a bit of a problem too with Deshaun Watson. Put in Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, 3 steps, boom, let it go. If you got heat coming up the middle here for the line, if the Rams are having trouble blocking, I think Owen Farrell and the Rams receivers do have the capability of still marching the ball downfield, even with some offensive line problems. So let's hope that's not the case. But I'm taking the Rams.
Oh, and I will tell you, Carey's probably going to blitz 75% plus this game. They're going to mug linebackers up. They're going to run stunts in the defensive line. They're going to move pieces all over because, that's what Paulding did, Hicksville did, Wayne Trace did, and they had some success with it too. But, I think the physicality, and I think, Keith, you had said it earlier, Carey is probably the second best team that they're going to face this year?
Oh, yeah, next to Liberty Center, no question.
I think so too. They played some tough teams, and I that's a great statement. I have to agree with you, and again, I don't know if the offensive line can handle it. Let's hope so. But, again, they're going to be the MVPs of the game.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Sonora. You guys all said it. Sure.
Yep. It's going to come down to, we'll see if if Coach Becker has taken his heart medication that he needs to.
Yeah. This one may come down to the fourth quarter. Yeah. And another good point, Tony, you'd brought up too, and I agree with you. I'd say amen 1,000 times is, Dominic Graziani's got to run the ball. He's got to run it outside. I watched some film on Carey. I don't think their front seven runs real well, sideline to sideline, and I think that's something where Dominic can take advantage of that in the run game.
You're going to have to get him involved somehow in that backfield and get him some touches somehow, not just throwing him in that quarterback as a wildcat, because then they're just going to crash and blitz like you said. So they're going to do something to get a little more creative with that.
Yeah, that's always the fun thing too is, some of these teams I don't know about, I just YouTube it right away and look it up, and you get film on it right away. So
that's awesome to see. I'm going with staying with Sonora.
All right, next game, looking at Woodmore 5-4 at the 11 seed at Fairview, the 6 seed 8-2. Really like this matchup. I think Fairview got a really good draw for the tournament. Give me the Apaches. I think they win this one big.
Yeah, Fairview big.
Fairview for me.
Fairview for me.
And Matthew had Fairview as well. Next game, the 16 seed North Baltimore 4-6 at the 1 seed Columbus Grove, and then we're looking at Division 7 now, 10-0. Just a little couple facts I want to read. Ned Stettschulte always does a great job, and he had submitted some of these stats and just how Columbus Grove does in the playoffs. This year is Columbus Grove's 18th appearance in the state football playoffs. Columbus Grove is currently 32-16 in playoffs with regional championships in 2001, 2, 3, 2014, 2020, 2022, and 2023. So, they've won regional titles the last 2 years, one state championship in 2003. And Columbus Grove, again, this stat is crazy. I know we've talked about it before, but tough places to play. Is 13-1 in home playoff games and is 11-0 in first-round playoff games at Clymer Stadium. Since 1997, the Bulldogs are 117-34 at Clymer Stadium with a current win streak of 18 games, and their last loss in the second round of the 2021 season to none other than Liberty Center, which we had talked about earlier in the season on the podcast, 21-13. And Grove has won 32 of the past 33 games at Clymer Stadium since the fourth week of the 2019 season. Coach Schaefer's 7th appearance in the playoffs with a 17-6 record. And looking at matchup, Columbus Grove playing North Baltimore 7 times in school history, and their record is 3-4 in those games. Last time they played was 1988, and Columbus Grove lost 0-7.
Oh.
With all that being said, I'm taking Columbus Grove.
Bulldogs big.
Yeah, this is probably one of those games that just don't even need to be played. Columbus Grove is going to go in there and just destroy North Baltimore. So going with Columbus Grove.
This is one of those games you just want to come out healthy and nothing stupid happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Bulldogs for me.
And Matthew had Columbus Grove as well. Next game, the 13 seed Edgerton 6-4 travels to the 4 seed Mohawk 8-2. With this one, I had seen Mohawk, watched them play on YouTube. And Mohawk's the real deal. I think Edgerton, if they want a shot in this, everyone's got to be healthy. Joel Walkup's got to be healthy. Maddox Baker's got to be healthy. Again, Scotty Krantz has to have his game of his career in order for them to win. But with all that being said, I think I got to go Mohawk. I think Mohawk's resume just stacks up a little bit better than Edgerton's.
Yeah, a healthy Bulldog team probably could have gave him a little bit of a battle, but I think Mohawk takes this one.
Yep, I'm going to go with Mohawk.
I'm going to go with Mohawk, but if Edgerton wins it, it's going to be a Scotty Krantz touchdown return, either a punt or a kickoff return for a touchdown.
They're going to win it on that?
If they win, that's what's going to put them over the top.
All right. We'll see. And Matthew had Mohawk as well. A couple more games here. The 12 seed Macomb at 7-3 travels to the 5 seed Edon, 9-1. We had talked earlier. Edon is a solid team. I just don't know if they've played enough tough competition and physical teams to get it done. With that being said, I think Macomb, I'm going to take Macomb. I think Macomb is a really physical team. I think they're going to win the battle in the trenches. The only way Edon wins this is, if it's a shootout. I think, Macomb's always got good running backs, and they're going to ground and pound, and they're going to, I think, eat away at Edon. But I think Edon keeps it close. At the end of the day, I think Macomb takes it, though.
I want to take the Bombers only because I think they were so embarrassed last week by their loss to Ottawa Hills, that they rebound here and knock off Macomb.
I'm right there with you on that one. I think last week was a fluke. I think I don't think they came in prepared well enough for that one for whatever reason, but I think this week they learned from that mistake and come in and take it to Macomb.
Yeah, we were just talking about, Bluffton doing the same thing with Columbus Grove. And I think Edon rebounds, talked to the boys earlier. They've lost to Macomb the last 2 years. I think they're going to try to get over that, get that monkey off their back. So Bombers for me.
And real quick, just looking at Macomb, they've lost to Lipsick, a 6-4 team early in the season. Best win, I don't know. Jeez, I may change my pick. Just looking at this a second time real quick. Yeah, best win is against a 5-5 Arlington team, 5-5 Van Buren team. You know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to change my pick. I got to change it. After looking at that, I got to go Bombers.
First time in NWO Sports history we've changed our pick after.
I think so, yeah. I got to go back. I'm changing. I'm going Edon. Bombers all the way. Give me the Bombers.
Persuasion.
I know. After hearing you guys talk, I'm like, I don't know. I might switch back. I mean, I think it's going to be physical. It's going to be close. But, yeah, give me the Bombers. I got to go Edon. Last 11-man game, the 11 seed Lipsick 6-4 travels to Ada, the 6 seed 8-2. I'm taking the Vikings. I am an advocate for it's tough to beat a team twice, and they are playing back-to-back weeks. I think Coach Kirkendall over at Lipsick, they right the ship, and they take their revenge on Ada. So give me Lipsick.
I'm going with Ada. They're going to take 2 straight from Lipsick.
I am going to go with Lipsick because, first off, it's really hard to win twice against the same team, especially back-to-back weeks. It's almost a continuation of the game. You just get to reset the score. The other reason for that is because Lipsick only lost by, was it 1-3? Something like that. It was a one-score game.
I think, yeah, it was really close.
And they had a kickoff return and a couple of interceptions that came at some kind of key moments. They clean up those mistakes, and then they win this by at least a touchdown, if not 2.
Yep, I'm going with Lipsick as well. I think they're going to clean up the mistakes they made last week and take this one from Ada.
And Matthew had Ada, so we were split on that game. A couple of 8-man games on the slate. Stryker 1-8 at Sebring McKinley 2-6. This one was a really tough one too. I kind of contemplated back and forth, but after comparing some of their opponents and how their scoring margins fared, I think I'm going to go with Stryker.
I got Sebring McKinley, only because Strikers struggled this season.
I just actually flipped mine. I'm going to go back with Stryker here.
Man of the...
I don't know.
Man of the Stryker. Someone get AJ a Stryker jersey over here. He needs to start wearing that every day to the podcast.
This one's a very close matchup, I think, just because I was kind of peeking over Logan's shoulder when he's looking at the stats, and Stryker has some of the common games. Strikers actually put more points up against their opponents. The gap between the teams has been about the same, but they at least have some offense going against them. So I'm going with Stryker.
Sebring McKinley for me, only because they're playing at home.
And Matthew had Stryker, so we were split on that game. Last game of the 8-man slate, Holgate 6-2 at St. Mary's Central Catholic 7-1. I don't know what happened to Holgate last week. I don't know if they're still battling injuries, but they really kind of ran the train off the tracks there. I think there's a lot of questions coming in this week, but with St. Mary's Central Catholic being 7-1, I mean, I can't not take them. So I'm going St. Mary's Central Catholic.
Yep, until I see a healthy Holgate Tiger team. Got to pick against them, so I'm taking St. Mary's.
Yeah, kind of a disappointing loss last week, but if there's injuries over there, that definitely puts a damper on your season. So I'm gonna go with St. Mary's.
St. Mary's for me again because they're playing at home.
And Matthew had St. Mary's as well. Well, guys, that concludes our game predictions. We're on to closing thoughts. Round 1 of playoffs is among us. What are your guys' thoughts?
It's gonna be an exciting week. Half these teams that we're talking about aren't going to be around next week. So,
yep, playoff football, best time of the year.
Each week only gets more exciting as we get closer to that big title.
It's supposed to be a decent weather, not supposed to be anything crazy, rain, nothing. Yep. Supposed to be so
upper 50s. So they kick off.
Yeah,
I think it'll be an exciting week. We'll be watching Sonora. You can see that Sonora Carey game.
A lot of good football. We'll be there. Sonora Rams live, and sure we'll be tuning in as we always do, like other broadcasts and following updates because we want to know what these teams are doing in the playoffs. And I'm really curious to see how a lot of these regions shake out. I mean, obviously some regions are stronger than others. The Division 5 region let me see what region it is.
22.
18.
Really
solid that Liberty Center's in.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how that one plays out. I think that's got me excited the most. Even Division 6, I mean, I think that one's pretty open too. PH is poised to make a big run. So I don't know. I mean, it's win or go home, and you better hope you play the best ball because if not, I mean, you're done. So, I mean, that's the best part about playoffs. You're one and done, and only the best survive. And PH made a long run last year, but, PH, Liberty Center, Columbus Grove, all looking to make long playoff runs. Let's see if another team kind of shocks us and, they make it to the big dance.
Looking forward to following teams down the stretch here to big time, that's for sure. But for me, I want to give a little quick shout out to Brothers Tacos last week for bringing us food up and fed the press box last week at Sonora. Food's fantastic. They had a ton of food left
really
over.
Good.
Oh my gosh, eat their tacos all day long. Yep. So if you need an event done, go look them up.
Definitely,
absolutely. I actually had something for news as well. One of the sponsors here, our office, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, we will be merging with Defiance Chiropractic come December 1st. So that is big change for us. We're going to be heading over there to go work with them. Everything's coming with us, all of our tables, equipment, everything else. Nothing's really going to change for patients other than just location. I'll still be seeing your favorite of me or Dr. Kayla, whichever. We'll be switching over to Defiance Chiropractic here in the next month.
Awesome.
If you need a chiropractor, that's your guy. All right. Well, I guess other than that, I don't have anything else if you guys have anything. But, we want to thank all of our sponsors that help make this possible, especially with playoffs, travel's a little bit longer. So it's nice to have these sponsors that help, cover some of the cost as well and continue to allow us to have our great coverage as we do of Northwest Ohio athletics. So these sponsors are BSN Sports, Optimal Performance Fitness, Titan Sports, Marco's Pizza, Remax Realty of Defiance, Bat and Stevens Body Shop, Burkholder Taxidermy, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, Drop Zone Pizzeria, Tenor Rams Live, Jimenez Basketball Academy, NWO Basketball, Trueland Equipment and Lauren Brown, and a couple newcomers for the playoffs, Building with Faith Construction, Ensign's Pub, and Paulding Pancake House. So we appreciate those that will help make our playoff coverage possible. So again, we'd like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility at Bat and Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.
See ya.